What is happening, Big Brown Breakdown listeners? The Brownies, the Brown team, Brown Eyes, Brown Browns, Brown Ups, Big Brown downtown, going Brown Town, whatever you guys want to call it. What's happening, guys? It is Tuesday, January 23rd. It is 11:20-ish in lovely Los Angeles, California. I'm your host, Brendan Schaub. I'm alive, barely, from Boston. Special night in Boston, y'all. Special night. I was nervous about my first theater at the Wilbur, the legendary Wilbur Theater. Just had a lot going on because I had that going on. My first sold out theater. I had Rogan opening for me. Then I had Showtime filming a bunch of it. So there's just a lot of moving pieces. And I was getting nerves the night before my comedy show, like I was getting ready for a fight. It was so strange. It's very strange. I did not expect that, but it is what it is. Went great, went swimmingly. One of the best nights of my life. As far as a stand-up comedian, probably number one so far for me. Best night of my life. Boston is a tough crowd, and it went very well. So that was great. But then again, I talked about it on the Fire and the Kid. And you guys have reached out to me nonstop through emails and DMs. I appreciate the shit out of you guys for all the advice and counseling and experiences you guys went through with stomach issues. I keep throwing up like a 16-year-old girl with bulimia or some shit. I don't know what's going on. Obviously, the fasting and the coffee kind of triggered some stuff in my stomach. Maybe it's ulcers. Maybe it's AIDS of the stomach. Who freaking knows? Maybe it's bird flu. I'm not sure, man. But the good news is I'm seeing a doctor today, finally, before I leave for New York on Thursday. I'm seeing a doctor today. So we will get this figured out. I appreciate the concern. So many people are like, dude, you need to see a goddamn doctor.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, they're like, you got to see a doctor. You had a kid, you got a lot going on. This kid, it's probably not serious, but then people gave me horror stories like, my friend didn't go see a doctor. This is what happened to them. Bam, he's dead. I was like, Jesus Christ. Yeah. Either way, I'm seeing a specialist today at UCLA, so I will keep you guys posted on that. Yeah, I thought I was good. I really didn't come back. Last time I threw up was at the Golden Globes in the limo, which is never good. In a suit throwing up like that. And then I do those meet and greets after my comedy shows, and I'm halfway through, and I go, how many people are left? He goes, about 40. And I'm like, God, I'm a little lightheaded. I start to sweat, and I'm like, oh, fuck, it's going to happen tonight. Here we go. So I get through it. You'll see in the pictures, I look like freaking Tom Hanks from Philadelphia, like the end of the movie, not the beginning of the movie where he's cute. And so I start sweating, and then it gets done. I'm in the back, and I'm talking to Rogan and Delagrati, who was back there. Shout out to Mark Delagrati, who I absolutely love, and his wife was there, and Brittany Palmer was in the back, and my brother, and Todd Feldman, my agent, and we're just in the back talking, having a good time, recapping the show. Obviously, Rogan's dropping some serious comedy knowledge on me about, what I should be doing, stuff like that. And it's all a good time, and I just feel sick, and I'm like, God, it's just going to be a matter of time. Then we all jump in the car to head back, and Rogan and I and the team were staying somewhere different than where the UFC fighters are staying. Hashtag Rich Carlton. And we're driving Brittany to drop her off at her hotel, and she's talking. Brittany's great, super creative girl, smart. If you've never seen her painting, she's crazy talented. And so we're talking about painting and art and stuff like that, and she keeps talking. I'm like, oh, I'm about to throw up. Here we go, back in the car, gonna throw up. And then I'm like, this is so embarrassing. When no one wants to throw up in front of the hot girl.
No one wants to throw up in front of anyone.
If it's my friends, it's kind of embarrassing.
Really?
If it's my friends, I really don't give a fuck. Or if it's family, I really don't care. But no, you don't want to throw up in front of the hot girl. Yeah. Just like you don't want to fart, you don't burp, you don't have a booger hanging in your nose, you don't want food in your teeth. Mm-hmm. Throwing up's literally the least sexiest thing on earth. That, or if them catch you taking a big shit or ripping a giant fart, it's probably the most embarrassing stuff. So I'm in the back, I'm like, damn, I'm about to throw up. And then it hits me and goes, and my mouth fills up. Like I get the chickmunk cheeks full of throw up. And my agent goes, dude, did you just throw up? I swallow it, and he goes, oh, no, it's coming back up, dude. It's going to come back up. And he goes, pull over. And we pull over. I get out of the car, and I'm throwing up everywhere. And the funniest part about it, there's always something funny in all these dark situations. Rogan gets out and he's like examining it. Like, most people are like, oh, God, bro, come on, man. Clean that shit up. You all right, man? But he was just like into it. He's like, yeah, it looks like you ate a banana. Oh, there's a piece of corn. Here, let's talk about this. How long you been throwing up? I'm like, remember when I threw up at your studio? He goes, yeah. You go, that was the start of it. He's like, really? I'm like, that was the start of it. Since then, I've thrown up at least once, twice a week. So everyone's concerned. Either way, it was a great night. I had a ton of Ritz crackers and Pepto-Bismol, and the next morning I was fine. The next morning was the Saturday, and we did go to the UFC, my second UFC event since I retired from fighting. And it's always a little stressful for me to go to those fights. I like it. I prefer to watch them on TV, but it's always a good experience. The love I get from the crowd's insane. It's so cool, man. Love Boston. Love everyone about it. It's cool seeing the shirts in the crowd, stuff like that. The Fighting Kid shirts or the Wilbur shirts we were selling. That's always crazy. Great seats. You never know, though, man. Like, I'm cool with everyone in the UFC. Obviously Dana has issues with me. So when Rogan gives me tickets, you never know if someone's like, oh, they're Schaub's going to talk a bunch of shit and they put me in the rafters. Mm-hmm. I don't know if they're putting me with general population or, were they
just far back or something.
Yeah, just like in a horrible area where I'm just going to not be able to enjoy the fights. But great seats, no problems. All my friends and my brother, we're all together. Yeah, I literally Boston. I'm not just saying this because I just got back from there, but it's my favorite city on the East Coast. I know it's going to piss some people off. Probably my favorite city on the East Coast. I'm more of a Boston guy than I am New York. Even though I'm headed to New York this Thursday, I'm more of a Boston guy. It's not as crowded. It's cleaner. I actually find the people friendlier. I think they have better food. God, New York, you're going to hate me. And I am performing there in the next few months. Either way, I dig Boston, man. It's more my pace. I like the history there. Been to New York a bunch of times. And it's not that I dislike New York. If I had to pick, I'd pick Boston.
Is it fancier?
No, I mean, listen, New York can get fancy. Mm-hmm. New York can get the fanciest place in the world. But I don't know. It's not as chaotic as New York. New York to me is chaotic. New York, as soon as I touch down, I'm like, oh, here we go. Rat race is on. And it's just like 0 to 100. There's no slowing down. It's this honk crowds, this cabs, food. It's just busy.
It is busy.
That's why I'm a Boston kid. Fights were fun though, man. Fights were fun. When I say fun, the last two were fun. Before that, it was a bit of a snooze fest. I got there right for the Rob Font Thomas Almeida fight, so right when the main card kicked off. But it was a decent night of fights. Some fun fights. The biggest L on the card, even though most people don't know who he is, so it's whatever, but that Francois Barroso who fought John Villante. I thought he took the biggest L. He just did not fight. It was a horrible fight. And it sucks for John because, he's trying to pressure, he's trying to get things going, and Francois just would not engage. And whatever judge gave it a split should be taken behind the shed and beat with a wooden stick, and should not be working in professional sports. My fight of the night was definitely Calvin Kattar versus Shane Burgos. I thought that was the best fight of the night by far. I thought it was a great fight. I think, even though Calvin was the underdog, I just thought he looked amazing. His jab looked great. It was a great fight. That Shane Burgos, he's not a guy who's going anywhere. One's from the Bronx, one's from Boston, the home kid. The crowd was behind him. There was a great fight leading up to the co-main event, main event. And typically when there's your co-main event, main event of this magnitude, you can't wait for that fight to get through. You're just like, come on, especially featherweights. I usually think they made a mistake putting the featherweights on there before a light heavyweight and heavyweight fight, but this one delivered. And I thought that was your fight of the night. And, Kattar's, besides Stipe, probably the MVP of the night. Let's go to the co-main event, main event. The co-main event, for DC, I was so proud of him, man. I'm just, losing to John Jones the way he did in that devastating fashion, and dealing with what he does with the whole Jones cloud over his head, and then finally gets back in there. He's fighting Vulcan, who, he's been on a tear, But, as DC said, and I always say there's levels to this game. I thought this was the easiest call to make since Khabib fought Barboza. It was my lock of the fight. And again, this is nothing Mystic Mac here. It was my lock of the fight. I just thought DC, he's fought big punchers before, a la Anthony Johnson, Gustafsson. He's fought tough guys, fought at heavyweight, didn't get clipped. And that's really Volkan's only chance to win this fight. And I just don't think that's enough at this level to do it. And this is actually very similar to the main event when you break it down, which we will definitely get into next. I don't think much stock is taken out of Volkan's stakes. I think Volkan came out, was there to win, was landing good shots on DC. That no time kind of pressure, him trying to get DC out in the first round was kind of working until DC, started to get a hold of that single leg. And then once he got him down, I did think Volkan Oezdemir was going to give him his back and give him a submission. I called a second round submission. It was second round TKO. It was close. But that's how I pictured this going down exactly how it went down. Exactly. Volkan's just not quite there. His wrestling defense was really impressive to avoid as long as he did against DC, and DC got in a few times, and the underhooks and the trips weren't working. So I was impressed with Oezdemir. I think, he beats a lot of guys. I just don't think he's on the same level as a guy like Gustafsson. Obviously, nowhere near the same level as DC, nowhere near the same level as John Jones. Outside that, he's there. He's always going to be fourth to fifth best in the world until those guys move on. I don't see him beating those top tip of the spear guys. So onto the main event, Stipe Miocic versus Francis Ngannou. Man, where do we start? So I think obviously I was on the Francis Dick Rider train. And it did take me a while to get on that train. If you remember, I've done companions when I was on Rogan, when I was here on with Brian, before Francis really started to gain momentum. I was never that impressed with him. I did not think he was that athletic. I was not impressed with his wins, stuff like that. And then when he beat Arlovski, I still wasn't on board. I went, well, Arlovski's long in tooth. And then when he just murked over him, like, all right, maybe we're on to something here. And I jumped on that train. And I was honestly scared for Stipe. Going to that fight, I was scared for Stipe. Francis was painted as this, and I'm part of the problem. I guess you could say I work in media. I'm part of the problem that painted this Bane picture and this mythical creature and this legend of Francis. And when you look back, God, was I so wrong? I don't mind being wrong. I have zero issues being wrong. You're not going to get all these right. It is what it is. I don't know where to start with this without you're gonna have to be a little mean when you get into this Francis thing, and I hate to be condescending, or I hate to be negative about guys, but with Francis, it was downhill the moment he walked out of that goddamn locker room with his walkout song. The Jacare Africa song was, I can't believe Dana White passed that, gave him access to even choose that song. I've had walkout songs changed at the last minute by Dana White. A lot of guys have. I cannot believe you paint this whole picture of Francis Ngannou as this mythical villain, this once-in-a-lifetime athlete, this dark cloud that's taken over the heavyweight division, the scariest man to ever face Stipe, and he comes out to Jacare. I thought that, right when that, I looked at my brother and went, God, I feel like they dropped the ball on that one. That's not painting the picture that you want. And remember, as much as a character as Francis is, obviously his English isn't great. Man, you paint him as this this demonic creature that knocks out everyone, and he's this, we really don't know much about him. His English isn't good, but who cares? He's scary, he's the Predator, and it's dark, and he's Bane, and there's Batman, and then he comes out to that. I thought they dropped the ball there. That being said, he looked freaking huge. And then Stipe comes out, and he just, he's cool, calm, collected. He obviously knew something a lot of people didn't know. And then when the fight started, I was so nervous for Stipe. Stipe has been a training partner of mine, a buddy of mine. I love Stipe. I did not think he was going to win this fight, and I was completely wrong. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I just did not know how Stipe was going to win. And then when Stipe went for the takedown early on and Francis chucked him off, I think most people are like, oh, here we go, another Overeem situation or another Arlovsky situation, or Francis just a matter of time before he lands. But it concerned me, Francis' hand placement. I went, oh, wow, he's really strong, but God, that technique there wasn't great. Maybe he's just nervous. And then, he landed a shot on Stipe. Stipe landed shots on him. That first round was an amazing round in championship fighting. Amazing round for the heavyweight division. And then once I saw Stipe starting to land, his jab was landing, and then he was countering, and then Francis was leaning over and reaching. I will say this. And I probably have more experience around high-level athletes than anyone who has said this. But people that say Francis is a once-in-a-lifetime athlete is dead wrong. That is not correct. You have not been around once-in-a-lifetime athletes if you think Francis Ngannou is a once-in-a-lifetime type of athlete. Go to NFL locker room. Go to MLB locker room. Go to NBA locker room. Francis is nowhere near those guys' capabilities in any facet, any form. Does he look the part? Yes. Looks like Tarzan, fights like Jane. And that's pretty harsh. And when I say fights like Jane, there are things going into this fight that people knew that was not made aware of to the experts. I did not know Francis didn't do any grappling or wrestling this entire camp. I did not know he barely does any at all. The rumor was in France, he's gone with some of the Olympic team there, and they've struggled to take him down. That is a lie. That is a lie. Whoever told me that should be slapped, and I will deal with that accordingly. It was also brought to my attention that Francis at the UFC Performance Institute only hit mitts. Didn't really do any training. He was so confident that he was going to knock Stipe out that he thought he was so good, he didn't need to do that stuff. So here's where I'm at with Francis. People who also say, this is just a bump in the road. He lost to the greatest heavyweight of all time, which I do agree with. Stipe is the greatest of all time, and we will get into that. He did go 5 rounds with the champ. He just has to work on some stuff. That is a cop-out, and you're giving him a cop-out. I see a couple character flaws, and this is Francis as a professional athlete, not Francis as an athlete, or not Francis as a person. Francis as an athlete, there's some red flags here. Number one, he's also surrounded by people that do not know the game. Even in my career, if you list any Stipe's, DC's, Calvin's, Dustin Ortiz, any of these guys, Gian Villante, you go Tom Almeida, Rob Font, any of their camps, if you were fighting, especially a champion, but if he has the pedigree of a Stipe and he has the history of a Stipe Miocic, and you go, we're just not going to wrestle this camp. You're so good, man, you're just going to knock him out. Any of those guys go, you're crazy, I need to switch camps. That's fucking insane, man. At this level, we're just going to skip all that? That's insane. So they're obviously all on the same board here where they think Francis is the next coming of Jesus. That's the first red flag. The second red flag is Francis goes, my bad, I underestimated Stipe. Yeah, I didn't know he was that good. Well, now it's a cop-out. That is a cop-out. What he should have said is, my bad, I overestimated my skills, and it's not even funny. They rushed me to the title shot. I had ideal matchups before I got here, and now I face someone who can actually fight. I'm facing someone who can actually grapple and punch. I'm actually facing a mixed martial artist, and I got exposed like a motherfucker. I got to go back to the drawing board. Not my bad, underestimated, I'll get better. Here's the other thing. He's not that young. So when people go, once in a lifetime athlete, he can learn wrestling, he'll be just fine. It does not work like that. At this level, once you're in the UFC, you're not going to pick up the skills necessary to become world champion once you're already in the UFC and you are a heavyweight in his age. You're not going to all of a sudden have a switch that goes, you know what? I have these holes. I'm going to gravitate towards wrestling and grappling now. it just doesn't work like that. Those buttons, those switches are way before any of this happens. Way before. It's not like one day he's just going to go, all right, oh man, I didn't realize I couldn't grapple or wrestle or have cardio, so now I'm going to focus on that. It doesn't work like that. I saw some comparisons of Sokoju, I obviously joking, trying to make my friends laugh when I call him Czech Congo with braids. I see how he was lost on the ground. I see his hand position on the ground. I see his cardio, which was 3 minutes outside that. The shots he was throwing, his takedown defense, his cardio, his technique, even when it came to striking, was bad. Listen, I drank the Kool-Aid. I drank the Kool-Aid. It took me a while to drink that Kool-Aid. Let's be fair. It took me a while, but once I did, I was on board, and I was scared for Stipe. Good God, was I wrong. That was one of the easiest fights for Stipe in his career. Granted, he got hit, which shows you what kind of chin Stipe has and possesses, but outside that, Stipe really wasn't doing too much wrestling, meaning he wasn't running the chain, doing the gauntlet. He wasn't doing a lot of chain wrestling like a DC or, like a Chad Mendez or like a Chris Weidman has to do to get guys down. He's pretty basic and it was working. I'm not on the board that, this is just a bump in the road from Francis, he'll be back. I'm not on that train. And I know I sound negative, but the holes that I saw in his game and the amount of time it would take and the years and the youth that's not on his side and the matchups that are in the heavyweight division, I don't see it. He'll be that guy. You know what he is? He's a fancy LeVar Johnson. I fought LeVar Johnson. Phenomenal power, scary. You don't want to get a striking match with him. I had a horrible, boring fight with him. Doesn't matter. Beat the shit out of the guy because he can't wrestle. You look at that heavyweight division, it's not pretty for him. You got to hope, and obviously he's ranked number one. He'll probably go down to 5 or 6 now, which I think is generous. I think there's a few guys who would beat him in those. Well, goddamn, you look at the heavyweight division, it gets so ugly, 10 through 15. I think there's a few guys who give him a lot of problems, a lot of problems, especially now that the word's out that he has 0 wrestling and cardio. I'm not on this. I'm not on this train where he'll just go back to the drawing board. It really doesn't work like that. I hate to tell you guys. He would have to find the right grappling coach, the right wrestling coach, the right bodies, the heavyweight bodies. He would have to gravitate towards grappling and wrestling. Where at his age, and to get this point, they go, bro, he's only been training for 4 years. It'll be 5 in December. I don't give a fuck. It's a level of intelligence and a false sense of reality when you think you can become the UFC heavyweight champion without wrestling or grappling in 2018. When I hear that, I go, character flaws. She's a great guy, and he actually had a post-fight speech on the shithole countries that Trump called out. I would love to hear that. Now I'm going to be hearing it on Fight Pass. You can't have him as main event. You can't book Francis as a main event, 5 rounds. You can't do that to him. It's not happening, man. So I am not on the board that Francis go back to the drawing board and he can fill in all these holes. The holes he has are such a large gap. Time's on his side. He doesn't have the team on his side. He is not a once-in-a-lifetime athlete. He's just not. After seeing that fight, after seeing him miss the shots, seeing his mechanics, seeing how he's not very explosive on the ground, even on his feet wasn't that explosive, his technique, Go to NFL training camp. Go to an NFL practice. Go watch those guys run around during a performance training center combine thing. Watch baseball players, certain baseball players. Go to an NBA basketball game. Go to NBA practice. Watch even freaking professional soccer. It's crazy that people say this. And the comparisons to Bo Jackson and Herschel Walker is fucking crazy, man. Do you know what type of athletes those guys are? Herschel Walker at 50 has better cardio. Herschel Walker at 50 had better wrestling than Francis. Are you shitting me? That guy's 50. Performance enhanced free too. There's no fucking Bane mask on Herschel Walker. Don't compare Bojack. You cannot compare those guys. It's silly. I know we want to compare the UFC fighters to other professional athletes. There's no comparison in athleticism. There's not. It's not even close. It's not happening, man. But I wish Francis the best. Change your walkout song. Get a wrestling coach. Stay probably again. And also, my tweet, obviously just trying to be funny when I put the UFC Institute, do they have treadmills, and obviously don't have wrestling class. Just trying to be funny. It's whatever. I fully support what the UFC Institute Performance Center is about, what they stand for. You got to realize something with them. Their job is not to make sure Francis can wrestle, has jiu-jitsu, and has cardio. Their job is to make sure Francis is healthy and he's the best Francis walking that cage that night. There's nutritionists, there's dietitians, there's cold tubs, there's cryotherapy, there's physical therapists, there's weight training, there's cardio people, there's VO2 max people, there's the punching heavy bag where you can tell you if you're the hardest puncher in the world, which who gives a fuck? Obviously, that means nothing. So their job is basically just to get the fighter mentally and physically prepared the best they can to perform on Saturday night. But that does not include striking coaches, wrestling coaches, jiu-jitsu coaches, any of that stuff. That's on him. That's on him. So obviously, I joke around, but I actually fully support what the UFC Institute Center is all about. So let's move on to Stipe. Stipe, what can you say about Stipe, man? Stipe Miocic. Is he the best of all time? I think so. And history, I think, is it's the same thing kind of what's going on with LeBron. Same thing happened, not too much with Jordan, but really LeBron, really with Kobe, with a Brett Favre. When you have these greats, these guys who, are in the conversation of greatest of all time, you don't appreciate them till they're retired and you look back over their body of work. When you're in the moment and they're playing every night or they're fighting every few months, or they won this Super Bowl, they did this, you take it for granted until they stop, and then you go back and go, oh my God, look how good that guy was. That's Stipe. That's LeBron right now. So Stipe, the history books, and it's going to be tough to beat this record, especially with the current UFC heavyweight class with these dinosaurs in there. Ain't no one beating this record with the most consecutive title defenses of all time. And you look at Stipe's record, man, he's had a tough go, meaning he's beat the who's who. The one fight or the two fights that he lost, he redeemed the JDS fight. After his true fight was a bump in a row when he was at 9-1. It was kind of his first tough fight. So he got knocked down second round. I don't care. I do not care. Then after that loss, he goes on to fight Roy Nelson, which he beats him, which is a huge feather in your cap. Then he goes on to fight Gabriel Gonzaga, who's always a perennial gatekeeper. Then the Fabio Maldonado fight. I don't know what Fabio was doing that fight. And then he fights Junior Dos Santos to a decision, which it was Fight of the Night. It's in Phoenix, Arizona. That's in 2014. Most people thought Stipe won that fight anyways. Then he goes on to fight Mark Hunt, beats the brakes off Mark Hunt in Australia. And then they give him Artur Arlovsky next. He torches Arlovsky in 54 seconds. Then they give him Fabricio Verdum for the heavyweight title. He goes to Brazil. Now, I want you to think about this. So he fights Mark Hunt. In Australia. So, he's facing some adversity there. Then he fights Fabricio Verdum in Brazil. Fabricio is a huge name in Brazil. For his first time fighting for the belt, he starches Fabricio in 2 minutes and 47 seconds. Then he gets Alistair Overeem in Cleveland, his hometown, and it's Fight of the Night, and it's an amazing performance. Obviously got in a little bit of trouble, but he still ends up beating Alistair Overeem, one of the greatest strikers, if not the greatest heavyweight striker of all time. Then he gets to fight Junior Dos Santos, who he previously lost to, quote unquote, to redeem himself, and he starches Junior Dos Santos, who's in the conversation of top 5 greatest of all time. And then next for him is he fights the walking legend, hype man, the boogeyman, the bane of the UFC, Francis Ngannou, who no one has figured out, who everyone was terrified of, who no one wanted to fight, and he absolutely wrecks him. Wrecks that dude. Destroys him. We got Francis reconsider his entire career. We got Francis wanting to go back to Cameroon street fight again in the dirt. You know? So, where do you put Stipe at? To me, he's number one. And then people will say, well, what about Kane? And when I say number one, he's number one in the history of the UFC heavyweight division. It's tough to say, and I'll argue all the time for him, but the Pride days with Fedor and Crow Cop and those other guys who fought back then, it was such the wild, wild west, and there's so much accusations when it comes to PEDs and what they let them do and stuff like that. That's kind of the steroid era of baseball. Is Mark McGwire and Barry Bonds the greatest home run hitters of all time? I guess they're juiced to the gills. I think Stanton and Judge are actually better, and they're not all juiced to the gills. And obviously the pitchers were juiced too, but that's a whole nother conversation. But I don't consider Fedor or anyone before there was drug testing in the same conversation as a Kane or a Stipe. Guys who have never had any issues with PEDs, have always been tests, have always had the ringers. That's why I give these guys the edge over it. I give them the edge over those old heads. So when people go, well, for Stipe, in order for him to be my number one, he has to fight Kane. Well, let's talk about that fight with Kane. Kane is not the same Kane that we've known to come and love that we've seen over the years. Kane is not the same cardio Kane. Kane's been out for a long, long time for a reason. From what I hear, his training camps, it's hard for him to get going. And when he does, he gets hurt. So you want to book a fight with, the champ, and you can go on a press tour trying to sell, former champ versus current champ, the greatest heavyweight of all time. Here it is, mano a mano. Who's going to be listed as the greatest UFC fighter, heavyweight fighter of all time? Here we go. And you go on this tour. Can you guarantee me that Kane is going to show up healthy? It's a huge liability. Huge liability. So what do you do if you're the UFC? I do, and obviously I'm with the same management as Kane. I do not book Kane Stipe. Kane's going to need a warm-up. He's been out for a while. He's had a bunch of surgeries. He has a brace around his a cage around his spine. So what Kane are we going to get? So that Kane is not the same Kane that mopped the floor with Junior Dos Santos, who beat the shit out of Bigfoot Silva, who beat the brakes off Brock Lesnar. It's not that same Kane. So I do not book that. I think the only fight that makes sense for Stipe is a Daniel Cormier. It's the only fight that makes sense. Do you want to see him fight Overeem again? I don't. Do you want to see him fight Verdum again? Yeah, I mean, I'd rather see that than Overeem. I like Verdum. He did lose the belt to him. You could do that. I think for the biggest bang for your buck, and I don't think either guy should fight until the end of 2018, I'd love to see a Stipe DC. For both their legacy, there's nothing to lose. There's really not much left in the division. You look at DC. What do you want to see DC do? You want to see him fight Gustafsson? Yeah, I could see that. And I actually hope Gustafsson gets a belt someday. I think he's the most talented light heavyweight of all time who never got a belt. And he's been so goddamn close. His John Jones fight and then his fight with DC, they were so close. You want to see DC fight Jimmy Manuwa? Do you hate money? If you're the UFC, do you hate money to book Jimmy Manuwa versus DC? I like Jimmy Manuwa's fighting style. There's not a fucking shot he beats DC. There's not even a puncher's chance in that fight. I know he's vying for that fight. That's not happening. Glover Teixeira, Glover's older. I guess I'd watch it. Doesn't blow my hair back. OSP, no. Shogun, fuck you, okay? I love Shogun. I'm not trying to see him fight DC. Outside that, there's nothing at light heavyweight. Everyone's so old. He's either beat everyone or we just don't want to see it. It's just not there. There's no other contenders. Gustafsson also is coming off shoulder surgery. He's out for who knows how long. Does he want to do it? So if Gustafsson can't fight, the next 6 to 8 months, which he should be able to, I guess you could book that. That's the only one. Look at Stipe. Let's go through the list. Francis is number one right now. Obviously, he's getting bumped down. So we saw Francis. He's never getting back to that shot again. So then you got Overeem. We've seen that. You have Fabricio. All right, there's an argument there. You got Kane. He's gonna need a warm-up fight. He's not gonna fight the champ right away. You got Mark Hunt. We've seen that. We got Derek Lewis. He has probably 2 fights and big wins before he gets to the title shot. You got Alexander Volkov. Guy has 70 Twitter followers. I love him, but outside that, what are you gonna do? Nothing there sells. And there's no great matchups there. I'd love Derek Lewis Francis fight. I think Derek Lewis beats him. I think Derek Lewis punches him right in the face and takes him down and finishes him. I think Derek Lewis is much more of a beast to handle than Francis overall now, especially with Derek Lewis's double leg. But you look at the lay of the land, light heavyweight, a super fight with Stipe DC makes sense. And I know DC is so cautious, and I know Kane's the leader of the pack over there, and he's like, well, he's gonna be champ, but he has to do his thing. Brother, I get it, man. You got to do what's best for your family. That'd be the biggest payday of your life. It's a super fight. You only have 1 fight left in your career. Why not? Kane's not fighting that fight anytime soon. You could get the belt, relinquish it, and then have Kane step in to defend your honor, and maybe get the belt from Stipe.
That's good too.
Yeah, that's what I would do. But overall, good night of fights. A lot to talk about. Obviously, Francis was exposed. He has a lot of work to do. I know I sound like I'm hating on the guy. I'm breaking down Francis as a performer, athlete, not as a person. Love the guy, nice guy in the world. But you're delusional if you think he's a once-in-a-lifetime athlete, and you're also delusional if you think he can make up his wrestling faults and grappling faults in a year. You don't know the goddamn sport if you think that man can make up those huge gaps in a year. Doesn't work like that. Ask CM Punk. It's a horrible comparison. I get that horrible comparison, but it's when it's not there, it's not there, man. And this is not where you work on the skills. That's like there's no difference in that's like you get in the NFL and as a receiver going, I can only catch if I run left. I can only catch if I run left. Well, the fuck? We need you to run right. I can't, man. They're not going, okay, well, let's take the time and have you work on catching balls to the right. Nope. We got a million other beast athletes who can do the run to the fucking right. You shitting me? How did you not learn to catch the ball turning to your right? How did you get to this level? Who the fuck told you to get to this level? Who let you? I mean, if he's in any other division besides heavyweight, he's not even in the big show at this point. If you're just a striker in 2018, unless you're a phenomenal exception like a Wonder Boy who has thousands of hours, who's an expert in striking and distance control, and actually works very hard on his grappling and jiu-jitsu and wrestling. Unless you're like that kind of striker, you just can't do it. The heavyweight division is the only division in the world where a guy who has just crazy knockout power can make it to this far. And also make it this far, but also have the perfect matchups where we bought the hype. I drank the Kool-Aid too. I know I'm preaching to the choir here. Just saying. Oh, it was a fun one, though. It was a fun one. And then you also had Bellator on Saturday night as well with Chael Sonnen, who was on last week. So proud of him getting his victory. He's going to fight the winner of Fedor Mayer, which is in Chicago, which I'm sure is in your current events. And then you had Roy McDonald, who had a tough fight with Douglas Lima, which I think, both win that night. Finally, Roy McDonald is the welterweight champion of the world. And, Douglas Lima, nothing to hang his head on. He gave it everything he can. He shows that he belongs right up there in the top 3 of any welterweight in the world. He's right there, right there. Michael Chandler continues to just destroy guys. And then Aaron Pico with a devastating liver punch, body shot, 37 seconds, round 1. If you don't know who Aaron Pico is, you got to watch this kid, man. You gotta watch this kid. He's He's our LeBron James for mixed martial arts. Even though he's 145er, he has the skill set. He's a guy that has the credentials, the wrestling background, the boxing background, the pedigree, the coaches, the training partners to be pretty goddamn special. Pretty special. So I'd love to see the numbers. I would assume the UFC pay-per-view with Francis and Stipe does around 300 to 330. And I'm guessing a lot of that comes from DC and Stipe, but mainly DC. But I'm curious to see how the Bellator numbers do. I really am. Should we jump into some current events?
Sure. I actually want to ask you a couple questions. The Ngannou thing. So if you were on his team, one of his trainers, would you have him just, since he doesn't have a ton of time left over, would you just concentrate on striking and then take down defense and just do that for the rest of the time? Or would you actually have him do
the other problem is his striking's not very crisp either.
Yeah.
His fundamentally,
Powerful,
his striking's not there. And here's another red flag that I forgot to mention. His corner, in between rounds, didn't bring him water, forgot the stool. They just put towels on him.
That's weird.
Yeah. So there's so many red flags where it's going to be tough to be successful, man. You got so many things working against you. I hope he figures it out. I don't know. That's a good question, Chin, because again, I keep bringing us back to Wonder Boy, but when I think of phenomenal striking, he's not a phenomenal striker. He has crazy knockout power because he's a giant man. He's a 265-pound human. So when he touches you, he does some damage. However, that being said, if he had the background of a Wonder Boy or of an Overeem, this high-level, world-class striking background, you can say, all right, you got that covered, man. There's going to be no one can compete with you striking-wise. Let's focus more on wrestling, grappling here for the next few months. Increase that. Hopefully get the right matchup, get you some more experience, and then we'll build on that. He's going to, as much time as he puts into striking, he needs to put into wrestling and grappling.
Yeah. None
of it is great. And then cardio is a whole nother issue. Is he too muscular? He cuts 265. There's a lot of, again, there's a ton of red flags. What do you do about his cardio? What do you do with that?
It seems like he was using that mask. It didn't work that well.
He should burn that mask.
Yeah.
If I'm France, I go, all right, what I do last time, let's do the exact opposite. Whatever I did, we got to do the exact opposite. There's so many holes. You're starting from the ground up now, because now you got to look yourself in the mirror and go, all I have is a scary look and crazy knockout power.
Yeah.
That's it. I'm coming to a Swiss Army knife fight with just this giant machete, and if I miss, I am so fucked, man. Because I only have one swing, and those guys, they have this Swiss Army knife, and they can do a million things. I have one swing. If I miss, I'm fucked. I do not envy his coaches right now. I don't envy them for their intelligence. I don't envy them for the project they have to figure out. I don't envy them because of their skill sets. I don't envy them because they're going to have a come to Jesus moment with not only Francis, but themselves and go, we might need to pass you off to someone who knows what the fuck they're doing. You might have to go to AKA. You might have to go to AK. You might have to go live with Khabib in Kazakhstan, where the fuck he's from, and wrestle beers and live in the snow.
So he's been to the second round twice in the UFC. So I don't remember their corner before giving him ice or anything, if they've ever done it before, since most of his fights are over in one round.
Yeah, I know.
But I also want to ask you about the DC Stipe thing.
Yeah.
So you're competitive. I'm sure DC always thinking, in the back of his mind that John Jones won against him, right?
Yeah.
So that's one thing that always is.
And John is coming back.
Is he really?
Yep.
What?
Guarantee it.
Okay.
He's coming back sooner than we pictured.
Wow.
Yep.
Can't wait to hear this.
Yep.
So the one thing I was thinking of, if DC did fight Stipe and he beat him, then he beat the baddest man on the planet, right? The heavyweight. And he could be like,
I know.
I did it.
Completely
I did something John didn't do.
Himself. Yeah, I agree. I don't see any cons to him fighting Stipe.
Yeah.
He's going to be damn near 40. He's 39. That 205 cut is atrocious for him. It's killing him. Yep. He's only getting older. At light heavyweight, there's no big blockbuster fight. The Gustin fight, the hardcore fans want to see. Does Gustin want to do it? How long's he out with his shoulder surgery? And then also, don't forget, let's say Gustin can't go anytime soon, and John comes back in the next year. If you're DC, everything you represent, everything you stand for goes away with another loss to John Jones. That's always going to be an asterisk on you. Let's just forget John. John can have this. All right, I'm not going to beat him. You're better than me, man. Fuck it. Take it. I'm going to go to heavyweight. I'm beat Stipe.
Yeah.
And then I get in the Hall of Fame.
Boom.
He's going to be in the Hall of Fame anyway, but you beat Stipe, he has a better chance of beating Stipe than he does John Jones.
Fair.
And it's going to be fun if you're a fan. It's going to be interesting because if DC goes up there and beats Stipe, retires, vacates the belt, John's right behind him. John might fight once at light heavyweight, just snatch that belt up, jump to heavyweight. Whoever's there, who wants some? Francis Ngannou doesn't make it out of 3 minutes with John Jones. That he trips him, takes him down, elbows the fuck out of his face, his giant face, and it ends in 3 minutes in the first round. He doesn't have to worry about it because he's never fighting John Jones. That's not a super fight, although I'd love to see it. I'd actually love to see Francis versus Brock. I bet Brock would take that fight. That'd be a great fight, actually. So, meaning you have two monsters. Brock would just double leg the piss out of them. So, John could fight a Kane. John could fight a Stipe. John could fight Overeem. And I just assume he's the favorite in all those. But if you're DC, let's just leave all the John Jones stuff. Leave John Jones light heavyweight division when he comes back. You go to heavyweight. Do your thing. Retire. See you, boys. Greatest of all time.
Both, right? One of the best light heavyweights, one of the best heavyweights.
That's the other thing. Never lost ever at heavyweight. Beat some of the best heavyweights in the world. Won the Strikeforce Grand Prix. Then jumps to UFC, becomes a UFC heavyweight champion.
Bam.
We're going Sizzler, son. We going Sizzler. Or wait at light heavyweight for John to come back. Wait for the real boogeyman to come back. Wait for that savage who's pissed off, thinks he's been shafted because he did cocaine and he's been out, and just thinks you're a fake champ. And most people, if you're a John Jones fan, agree with him because we all physically saw John beat DC twice now and head kick KO him. Let's just leave all that behind. Let's not deal with that mess. Or do you want your last fight to be against that monster? That's a terrible idea. You don't want to end this marvelous career with another John Jones loss. End it at heavyweight in a super fighting at Stipe and bounce out.
Yep.
And then John will come in and do his thing. But you don't need to mess with it.
Yeah, I like that plan.
Right? Good plan, man.
Really good plan.
I'm off to New York on Thursday, working the Grammys for E again. And then also on Friday, I can't officially announce it, but I'm doing some stuff for Showtime. I'm shooting some stuff for Showtime out there with Frankie Edgar.
Sweet.
So I'll be shooting for Showtime on Friday, and then I have rehearsals that night for E, then Saturday rehearsals for the Grammys, then Sunday's the Grammys.
Jeez.
And back home Monday morning for Fighting the Kid.
Fighting the Kid, yeah.
And then next week, Wednesday night, I'm in Denver, the Comedy Store. Comedy Works downtown Denver. There's still tickets for the Wednesday night show. Thursday night, Denver's sold out. Then Friday, Saturday, I'm in St. Louis.
No time off, man.
Grinding, man. But I haven't seen a doctor today, thank God.
Yes. Yeah, definitely let us know what happens.
I know. I hope it's nothing serious, man. Hopefully I don't have to
I don't think it'll be that
surgery
serious.
or nothing.
You're too healthy to be something
You'd
serious.
be surprised. You never know.
Well, crossing fingers.
AIDS of the stomach. What events you got, brother?
All right. First one is Cris Cyborg. So she's announcing on her social media on Instagram that she's agreed to fight Amanda Nunes at UFC 226. But it's a little weird. As you can see there. They're facing off.
So we're going to air the Cyborg interview that I did with her and her man, Ray. We're putting that interview on this podcast. when we did the interview, she gave her concerns about the Amanda fight, why she doesn't want to fight Amanda, and then this news breaks, right? Mm-hmm. So we got to talk about it. The number one rule as a UFC fighter is you cannot announce anything till it's official, until the UFC announce it. Cyborg, I love Cyborg. Her man and manager Ray is a great dude too. However, they mess up many times on social media. They take a bunch of shots, and I understand to hit a home run, you gotta take a bunch of swings. So they take a bunch of swings and they miss a ton of the time. And sometimes they'll hit some horrible foul balls. This would be a foul ball announcing, "Oh, I've agreed to fight Amanda, and we're gonna do it July 7th, part of Vegas." If the UFC doesn't make it official, and even if they get hinted at it, there's so much that goes into it, marketing, headlining, stuff like that, where this is so early, you should not be talking about this. You should not be talking about this. The other thing is, do you see what they did with Megan Anderson?
No. Oh, the one before?
Well, with their tweet before, I think where they go, Megan Anderson just got married so she could become a legal citizen, and then they tagged Customs.
I didn't see that. No, I didn't see that.
That's not Cyborg doing that. That's Ray. Man. Again, they take a lot of swings. That's fine. And again, if you tweet more than 5 times a day, you have an issue. Meaning you're too much. It's too much, man. You got to back off. My issue is now when you talk that shit about Megan Anderson and then you tag the U.S. Border Controller, the Customs, and you try and fuck him over, you're not gaining any fans doing that. And I'm positive that's not Cyborg doing that. That's Ray, and that's a bit of an issue. And I support them. I'm a full Cyborg supporter. I actually love the fight against Amanda Nunes. I think it's a rough fight for Amanda, but she wanted the fight. I hope it does happen July 7th, Las Vegas weekend. That's a huge card. That is a super fight. That being said, their social media game has been terrible.
Okay.
And it was a fun interview with them. It was a fun interview, and my thing with them is they just never seem to be happy. You'll see in the interview, I go, they're complaining about this and this, and I just go, what else have you guys? I almost get sick. Like, what else are you guys up to, man? Are you guys happy? Are you enjoying it? You remember that? Are you on vacation? Did you do anything? They really don't want to talk about it. Quit playing the victims all the time. We got to quit playing the victims. I think Cyborg does that. I think Woodley does that. And Francis is doing that. I think you can't play the victim and win fans. You just can't. I thought Cyborg, the first time she came on here last year, she had a legit argument and legit evidence and a story on why she's the victim, why she's been held down. I'm on board. She brought tears into here. That was full. That was real, wholehearted. I'm on board with that. But to a certain extent, you're in control of your own destiny. You're the world champion now. You agreed to a contract that's pretty healthy. Everything's all good. Quit crying wolf. The UFC, they're doing some good things for you. It can't be all negative all the time. We can't have that. No one wants to support that. It's exhausting. It's draining. You're the champ now. They gave you Holly Holm. She's a huge draw. You beat her. Now they're giving you a super fight, potentially on Las Vegas weekend, July 7th. That's fucking huge. Stop the complaining. Stop the victim. Don't do that. And same thing with Woodley. You got to stop that, man. Mm-hmm. You can't always, UFC can't do this. UFC doesn't do this. UFC doesn't do this for me. They're not doing this. Whoa. Stop it. You're the world champion. Most of this falls on your shoulders. What else you got?
We can get into this or we can move on, but it's just tweets back and forth between either Cyborg or Ray, whoever it is, and Nina Ansaroff, who's dating Amanda.
Which I love that story. Mm-hmm. What does she say? So Cyborg tweets out, I've agreed with my management to fight Amanda, hashtag UFC 226, July 7th in Las Vegas during International Fight Week. I will let her finalize her side of the bout now. Even tweeting that, it does not work that way, man. Mm. That's such poor taste, man. There's no way Cyborg's doing that. And then
Cyborg just says, we still good with Vegas, Amanda? and coach Conan.
It's so silly. Again, this is such preliminary talks. And to go, hey, you still down? Amanda Nunes and coach Conan? Like, we good? I heard you guys are into it. But unless you get direct word from the UFC, you're setting yourself up for failure. You also don't have this control. The UFC does not work like this.
You said it many times before too, like don't announce it beforehand. You're pissing them
I'm
off.
telling you, man, that's rule number one. So when Cyborg goes, I agreed with my management, we should fight Amanda. You shouldn't even say that. There's so much that goes into this, man. It's again, and if this doesn't come to fruition for whatever reason, who knows? Maybe they can't agree with contracts with Amanda. Maybe Cyborg doesn't get this. Maybe she wanted to be the main event, but they have her as a co-main event. There's a lot that goes into it, and now Cyborg's going to play victim. This is ridiculous. We accepted this. In the UFC, he's going, no. This is why we tell you not to say shit. Because now you have the fans upset at us when we never said this was a certain thing. You and Cyborg might talk shit to each other on Twitter. We don't give a fuck. So then her companion, Nina, put hashtag fake news. And then Cyborg responded that, Amanda said she will fight me in Vegas. I have agreed. Nothing fake about this. And then Nina goes, I think I would know if she said that.
Hand to face.
Hand to face. And then...
this is a Cyborg reading from an article somewhere.
I think it would be awesome, Nunez says. I would be ready in Brazil, Vegas, whatever country. Let's 100% make this happen. You can't quote that and say that's a legit accept to fight.
Yeah.
Cyborg's being mishandled. Ray, I love you. I think you're a great guy, and I think you actually helped Cyborg's career, but again, they take a lot of swings. They're hitting a lot of foul balls right now. This is a huge foul ball. And then Cyborg goes, sorry, I know English, my second language. Did I misread? And then Nina goes on, that was just an interview saying she would fight you anywhere. It doesn't matter. Nothing was offered where and when. Correct, Nina. I love Nina. Not trying to start anything here. When everyone comes to an agreement, it will be a great fight.
So she's for it.
Yeah, and then Cyborg goes, July 7th, sign. And then Nina goes, cool, I'll let everyone know. Like it's so amateur hour. It's just so amateur hour. It's so amateur hour. I learned, me and Mark Hunt were talking shit. We were supposed to fight. We're talking shit to each other in media. And he was like, oh, let's do it. And I was like, you can have all my money and, winner takes all and stuff like that. And then they offered me another fight, the Travis Brown fight, obviously. It was my last fight. They offered me Travis Brown. And I go, what? But me and Mark Hunt agreed to fight each other on Twitter. And Dan goes, you shitting me? I went, yeah, you're right. And he goes, definitely doesn't work that. What are you, Joe Silva? You Joe Silva? Did you get a contract? Does Mark have a contract? It doesn't work like that. And I wasn't like, me and Mark Hunt official. He agreed to it. Look, I have this tweet here. The fuck? That's insane. You know what? That the agreement, that's basically a pinky swear. You're riding and dying on a pinky swear. Take 2 baths. As my girl Joranna says, who's never going to fight you, Cyborg, take 2 baths. That's crazy. You guys know I'm a big Cyborg supporter. I love her. I think she's being mishandled, misguided right now. This is not Cyborg tweeting this stuff. What else you got?
All right. Okay, so this is big. Dana White declining to say that Conor McGregor's been stripped. At the post-fight interview, like you could see, or the post-fight press conference, you see like different, media.
Talk about amateur hour. If you're Dana White, and again, I love this drama. I love this male soap opera we're living in, or male-female soap opera we're living in the UFC, because it was so mishandled. And Dana just didn't give a fuck. Like, they'd ask him, like, anyways, like, he didn't want to address it. But how do you not have a game plan going up there? I think they're walking on such eggshells because Conor McGregor has such a big nut and has so much power over the entire lightweight division. Dana White, the UFC, has so much power. They don't want to piss him off. That's what it is. He holds the UFC by the balls. And it's never been more clear than when I watched that press conference. I'm like, they're scared to admit it. It's like he's the boogeyman. It's like that movie Candyman. You say it 3 times, that motherfucker's gonna come out. So they just don't want to ruffle any feathers. Let's see. But what they're waiting for is Tony was told it'd be the undisputed lightweight title fight of the world against Khabib. He was told that.
Yep.
All they're waiting for to make it official is they're waiting on Conor to go, I'll fight the winner. If Conor goes, I don't know if I'm going to fight, they're going to strip him. So they're not going to jump to conclusions, which they've done before, which I think they actually did in the John Jones situation. They shouldn't have stripped him until they were absolutely sure at this point. But with Conor, they're trying not to make him vacate the belt before he turns down the fight. Now, I'm sure there's a timeline before, it was April 7th? Before April 7th hits where he's going to need to commit to defending that belt. If he doesn't, you're going to see a vacate pretty soon here. Yeah, probably March, maybe the week of April. But if you're the UFC, it's bad for business because we're not quite sure what Khabib and Tony are fighting for. And to me, Tony Khabib is the greatest fight the UFC can make right now in any division. It's by far the most competitive, most intriguing matchup by far. That's an amazing fight. Now, does that fight sell pay-per-views? No, which is a shame, but and it definitely will take a hit if we don't know what they're fighting for. If it's not clear, if it's confusing to me and you, think about your dad or your mom or that casual fans like, isn't Conor the champ? And if someone's like, yeah, he is. Wait, but he's not fighting more? We don't know. So what are they fighting for? Another interim belt. But Tony's the champ already? Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it has to be very, very clear. Otherwise, it's going to hurt your marking. It's going to hurt Tony and Khabib, the winner of that. It's, but again, they're just kind of, hey, Conor, shoot him a text. Hey, bro, just how you feeling today? Probably don't get a response back. 6 days later, I'm good, man. What's up? Nothing. You see the news? Yep, saw it. Anyways, right on. What do you think of that, man? Weeks go by. He's the UFC right now is that desperate side piece. That desperate, hey, man, you good? Hey, can I stop by? Conor's like, chill, man. I'll get to you when I get to you. Treat him like shit. Don't worry. I'll get to you. $100 million in the bank. I'll get to you. And eventually UFC just go, all right, he's broke our heart. We got to strip him. We have to.
When do you think they'll make that decision? So it's April
March.
7th, right?
March.
Damn.
March. They're going to do it in time enough to promote Tony Ferguson. Khabib is the real 155 champ. You're going to see it in March. They're just waiting on a for sure answer from Conor.
Tony responded to that too. He's really upset because he doesn't know which belt he's fighting for.
I bet. I can't imagine. It must be so frustrating for a guy to have that much power over you who you can't control it.
Mm-hmm. And he says, I love you to Dana, but I'm like, what the F, dude? Am I the champ or not? Do you want to hype me up or do you not want to hype me up for this fight? So I guess March we'll know for sure, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Tony and Khabib have every right to be upset. The UFC needs to grow some balls and maybe picture a world without Conor. And this might be the first step into call Conor's bluff. Strip him. Let's see what he does. Does it upset him? Does it bring back competitive spirits? Does it make him forget about the $100 million in the bank? What you can't do is to continue to let him make all the decisions and hold this division hostage. And that's coming from the biggest Conor fan in the world. I love Conor. But if the UFC, you got to grow up here.
It was just so obvious at that press conference. Yeah.
I've never seen Dana White be so submissive to a fighter ever. What else you got?
All right, this is about Uriah Hall. TMZ got a hold of this. But so Uriah Hall did an Instagram live video Q&A, and then he was talking about that weight cut that he had. And I guess he had a slight heart attack and a mini seizure.
Okay, first of all, if he did, that's fucking crazy. Second of all, there's not really such a thing as a slight heart attack or a mini seizure. You've either had a heart attack, which is scary as fuck, and you're never going to get cleared to fight again, or you've had a seizure. But there's no, I kind of had a heart attack and I had a little bit of a seizure, you know? I kind of killed a person, kind of raped a girl. Well, no, it's very black and white. Either you did or you didn't, man. So the day before all right, fainted. Paige Van Zandt witnessed the incident, called it the scariest thing she's ever seen.
He said his doctor said even if he made the weight, the next day he would have probably died. He's saying all this stuff, so I'm wondering what's going to happen to him now.
Well, see, this is where he fucked up, because now for any commission, because this is on public record, so now for any commission to claim to fight, he's going to go through so many obstacles, through many tests. They might force him to fight at 205, but the chance of them letting him fight at 85 cutting weight again is not good.
Yeah, that's another thing they were talking about. But also the only reason he did this video was to show people he didn't punk out of the fight, but now he just dug himself in a deeper hole, right?
I don't think Uriah punked out. I actually think he had a real problem. Maybe he did have a heart attack.
It sounded like maybe a real bad problem.
Yeah, I think he had a horrible problem.
Yeah.
I know. Listen, if someone says, all right, Uriah might have mental issues, he doesn't show up to the fight, he doesn't bring us full potential, that's fine. He's never not taken a fight. He's never not walked the walk. He's a competitor. He's a beast athlete. He's very skillful. He's a warrior. That being said, he's dug himself into a hole here because all the commissions pay attention to this. Remember when Mark Hunt said, oh, I have this memory problem. They yanked him from a main event. When Kane said, oh, I have this problem, they yanked him. So he's going to have to navigate through this.
And just quickly on that, so the head of the Association of Boxing Commission, he said that he'll probably be forced to fight at 205.
100%. You can't. No commission's gonna be like, yeah, cut that weight again. Let's see if you die.
Yeah.
What else you got?
DJ acknowledged wanting to fight TJ on that one international fight week in July.
See, if TJ had Ray Cyborg's man as his manager, you get a tweet that goes, "It's confirmed." Mighty Mouse, TJ happening July weekend. It's happening. You just can't do that. This fight has the same potential as Cyborg Amanda Nunes. Nothing is certain. There's a lot that goes into it. They got to get an agreement with TJ and get an agreement with Mighty Mouse, and then it's off to the races. Then you get official contracts. But it's just, hopefully that fight happens, and obviously they both want it, but there's a lot that goes into that. I love that fight. I love that fight. That's a tough fight to break down.
Yeah.
It's a really, really interesting fight. Amazing fight. What else you got?
Cool. This is just Dana White talking with the Associated Press, and what he said about CM Punk was pretty interesting. So
let's see. White said 40-year-old Punk will fight again. I like that guy. He's a good dude. He wants one more. He wants to get another shot. I'm going to give it to him. # we need ratings. White said he has no date or opponent in mind for Punk, but I'm working on it. He's a completely different case than most normal human beings, so I'm going to give him another shot. So he's a completely different case than most human beings, which means he's a celebrity with no fighting skills. But we can make money off of him, so I'm going to give him another shot, even though he's the worst fighter to ever grace the octagon. That's what he should have said. I heard Brad Pitt throws a mean left hook. I'm sure George Clooney can throw a mean kick. Gerard Butler, I saw him 300 throw a front kick like Anderson. We want to pair him up with him? Where do we stop at it? I think that hurts the brand so much, it's not even funny. I think you got to draw the line. I know you guys have had a rough year as far as number-wise. Last year was the worst year ever. 2018, I think is going to be better, and you have the TV rights coming up, and you got to make numbers. I get that. I know CM Punk, will he be a draw now? You probably get the WWE guys, the MMA audience thinks he's the biggest joke to ever grace the octagon. So I don't know if they're going to tune into it. If they do, it's just to see an ass whooping. And who do you have him fight?
I have no idea.
It's a real shame we're at this point. It's a real shame. Bill Murray loves the Chicago Cubs. They're not going to let him take swings. They're just not going to let him pitch. They're not going to let Bill Murray take swings. It's just not there, man. Machine Gun Kelly was in the crowd in Cleveland, loves Stipe. I heard he throws a mean right hand and can probably make 145 even though he's 6'6". You want to sign him too? 21 Pilots, great band. Billions of YouTube videos, big draw. I see them training in my gym all the time. You want to sign them? Like, where do you stop? Not to mention, they have the same skill sets as CM Punk. All those guys I just mentioned have the same experience, and skill set as CM Punk. Let that soak in. Wesley Snipes would be a better signing.
Yeah.
And I like CM Punk. Nice guy. Not a fighter. It's not for everyone. It's just not your thing. And to compete at the biggest level, the biggest stage, to get the marketing, to get the pay he's getting is crazy, man. Well, that's what the market demands. I get it. I get it, man. I get it.
Is he still training with your boys?
With Duke Rufus?
I thought he trained with Henner, or he did.
No, he doesn't anymore.
Oh, okay.
He's at Duke Rufus full time.
Oh, okay.
Which is amazing camp. Duke Rufus can't download his skill set into CM Punk. It's just not there. That's crazy. That's a bit of a bummer. I get what they're doing, though. I get what they're doing. Hey, Demi Lovato does jiu-jitsu all the time. She would have a better shot of winning a fight at 135 than CM Punk does in any weight class.
I would actually want to see that, though.
I love Demi Lovato. Yeah. She's so goddamn hot. I would pick Demi Lovato in a grappling contest over CM Punk. It is what it is. Mm-hmm. What else you got?
Let's see. All right. This is with Ben Askren on Rogan's show. So he was talking about when he was about to move over to the UFC, the UFC brass told him the one thing he had to do was get out of his matching clause with Bellator. And this is back in the days when Bjorn was on it. So he constantly called Bjorn saying, like, just, let me go. He finally released him. And then literally right after that, UFC, Dana White was in a scrum saying, no, we don't want Ben Askren. And then Ben Askren said, screw this. I'm flying to Vegas and talking to them in person. Flew to Vegas, sat down with Lorenzo. Dana was on a speakerphone. And then I guess during the conversation, they're like, well, you have to take a fight at World Series of Fighting, WSOF, one fight, and then we'll sign a Zuffa contract. They thought he was going to say no. He said yes. 6 hours later, oh, no, we don't want you. We're not going to sign the contract with you.
Why?
He thinks because Dana hates him. And he made some good points too. Like, if he does believe that Dana thought that he could possibly be the champion, and if he was the champion, he'd be kind of like not the most stylistically friendly fighters. Correct. Yeah. So he made some interesting points here.
Well, but the point that, we can't market him, or he's so one-dimensional, he's a wrestler we don't want to see, that's a terrible point, because a guy like that, people are going to tune into. If he's that excellent at grappling and not getting hit and can beat all comers, you can build off that to a certain point. Mm-hmm. As far as, the one character flaw I will give Dana White, he's a very smart man. He's obviously done with the UFC what he's done, and he's made $400 jagillion and all that. His biggest character flaw is holding grudges. That negative energy must just eat him up, and it can't be good, man. You can see he's not aging great. He's overweight. It's just, I just think that resentment that he holds in there. I get passion. I'm a passionate guy. I have zero animosity for anyone in this world. Zero, man. I have zero hate in my heart. There's no one I dislike on this earth. Not one person. You can name anyone. If anyone that I've ever had disagreements with hit me up for any reason, needed a favor, wanted to come on the show, wanted to do something, needed something, cool, man, you got it. When you hold in that hate and that anger and, I'm not going to let him in this club, I'm not going to let him participate, I'm not going to do this, I don't want him this, I'm going to make sure he doesn't do... It's such... To be honest, it's such bitch moves. It's not what leaders do. It's just not, man. It's not. And, that mentality is not going to grow the brand. That mentality is not going to venture off into other successful businesses. That mentality is not going to raise good children in this world. That mentality is not going to encourage and spark motivation or, positivity for other people. Matter of fact, it does the opposite. It shuts people down. People don't want to play with you. People don't want to work with you. There's a big difference of being respected and being scared. Mm-hmm. A lot of people are scared of Dana. Do they respect him for his brain and for his decisions? That's up to them. But to not sign Ben Askren over an interview he did where he talked shit? Are you kidding me? What are we, in 5th grade? What are you doing? But then you'll rave and rant about a guy like CM Punk.
True.
And look at the ratings. Look at the ratings. People go, well, Dana obviously knows what he's doing. Okay. But when you run a business like this, a big business, and now you're in bed with WME, who they really don't run businesses like that. When you run business like this, and now Lorenzo, who's a brilliant man, is out of the equation, and you're just to run it off passion, animosity, and fear, how's it doing? How is it doing? When you take a real look at it, how are things doing? The same way Francis is looking in the mirror this morning going, oh, I have so many flaws, man. I got to work on this if I want to continue to grow, if I want to get to that end finish line. The UFC needs to look in the mirror and go, oh, man, all right, man. We can't hold this animosity towards all these people. We can't run a business like this. Let's really, I know we keep saying it's the best year ever. We know deep down, everyone in that office who's listening to the show right now, you know damn well it was not your best year ever. It was your worst. And there's nothing wrong with that. Every sport has its ebbs and flows of up and down. That's fine. The problem is if you're so naive and your ego's so big that you guys truly believe it was your best year ever and you make zero changes, well, now it's suicide. Now you guys are in trouble. Big trouble. And you're going to miss out on people like a Ben Askren, who's a world-class athlete who never got compete in the UFC because he pissed off the boss. Are you shitting me? What is this, the Mean Girls Club? Are you shitting me? A super fight against Khabib Ben Askren, one of the greatest fights in the history you can make. I think Ben Askren wins that fight at 170. And Khabib can make 170. He's a huge dude, so give me a break on the 55. It's just crazy, man. Then you hear this stuff where you're playing with a guy's livelihood. Remember, Ben Askren is a professional fighter, so when you go, all right, get out of this league you're in, and we'll sign you. He goes, cool. Then he flies to Vegas. He goes, okay. Fight in World Series, and we'll sign you. Ben goes, cool. They don't sign him. Why do you think that is? It's immature shit, man. You cannot run a business like that. You just can't. You can't. But it's also, as far as Dana, if you care about the guy, you can't live life like that. That resentment, that anger, that dark energy, it's going to come out one way or the other, meaning in forms of health, cancer. It's just not stress. You're going to age. You're going to gain weight.
He does look very different. Even his eyebrows are starting to disappear, which is weird.
Hate will take its toll on you, man. Hate and anger will take its toll on you. Do people respect you for what you've done, or are they scared of you because you're the boss? Big difference. Right now, I'd say it's the latter. Big difference. And look when guys get to a certain level where they don't have to jump through all the hoops that Dana wants to do, look at Conor. Motherfucker's not even answering the phone. Whatever. I'm done with that, man. I'll beat that game. What else you got?
Oh, me?
And then you're burning every bridge with Showtime. They're the worst. We'll never work with them again. Showtime. It's like, what the fuck? All right, man. Why? Because we gave real numbers? Well, hold on. You're upset, and we sent out a press release that you guys agreed to. You're upset because we gave out the actual numbers? Oh no, we don't honey dick over here. We actually give out the real numbers because we're a, ready, business. We cannot lie. Espinoza is not a promoter. He's not in the business of entertainment. He's in the business of money. You cannot lie. Just like you can't lie in your taxes, you can't lie to the government. You can't. So then he's looking in the mirror, figure things out, just like Francis has to do. But that's a real shame about Ben. What else you got?
Opening odds for Jędrzejczyk and Rose Namajunas rematch. Jędrzejczyk is a 2-1 favorite.
You know what? And I'm not going to disagree with this. When the fight was first announced, me and Rogan were in the car talking. I said, you know what? I would assume Joanna's the favorite here. You know, I think the question is Joanna's never been stopped like that. She's never been destroyed and shut down like that. How does she bounce back? And we're gonna find out a lot about her. Does she bounce back and she's one of the greatest of all time and she does work against Rose? Was Rose a flash in the pan? Did she just catch the champ and the champ overlooked her? What's going on here? We're gonna find out a lot. But I think you're going to get a trilogy out of this fight. I think Joanna is the favorite, and rightfully so. If she were to win this fight, which I most likely think she will, and by decision, you're going to get a trilogy, and that's exactly what this division needs. That's the best case scenario too, by the way. Because I think the other matchups for Rose looming in the shadows there are tough matchups. So I think a trilogy is just what the doctor ordered for them. Give me two more.
All right. This is not a big one, but Fedor and Frank Mir are set for Bellator 196, and that's April 28th in Chicago.
Nice. And winner fights Chael Sonnen. God, either way, whoever wins that one, Chael gets his hands full. They're huge, man. I would love to see Chael versus Fedor. I would assume, man, you don't know what Fedor you can get. You don't know what Mir you're gonna get. That's what's interesting about this whole Grand Prix. What else you got?
You want to do one more, two more?
Just one more.
All right, let's just do this one then. I just thought this was funny. So Chael Sonnen and Rampage did a bet on an ESPN radio show. And then Chael said he would pay... Oh, no. Rampage said he would pay Chael $10,000 for each takedown he gets on him. So after the fight, he actually got like 3 takedowns, right?
30 grand.
3 grand. So Chael Sonnen, this is what he said afterwards, and you can read it. It's just super funny.
We'll see if he's a man of honor. Someone said after this victory, which came via 29-28. We did shake on that, but I will tell you, I won't cash his check, but I expect him to hand me one. What I do with it is my business, but I will tell you, I won't cash that check.
What does that mean?
I don't know.
It's so funny, dude.
He's so silly. He's so silly.
I love his humor.
I love it, man. I love Chael. Shout out to Chael Sonnen, man. Is that it?
That's it. Oh, breakdown though.
Oh, we got fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had fights this weekend, huh? We had
We
Saturday. Is it in? It's in North
Fight
Carolina,
Night.
Charlotte. Is that where Brunson's from?
I don't know.
Yeah, it's
I'll
all
look it
good.
up.
So you got your headliner, Jacare Souza versus Derek Brunson. They fought before. Jacare starched him in like 40 seconds, something like that. For this main event, listen, I think Jacare is one of the baddest men on the planet. Obviously, Derek Brunson's a completely different fighter from last time they fought. And, Jacare's last fight, he did face the champ, Robert Whittaker, but he was injured in that fight. He did get starched in the second round. He got beat up pretty bad. But prior to that, he's kind of beat everyone. He had the split decision loss against Yoel Romero, which I thought he actually won. Then he beat the shit out of Belfort. He beat Tim Boach via submission. Then he lost to the champ, but he was injured in that. Before that, he beat Musasi, Francis Carmon, Okami, Chris Camozzi, twice submission. And then he starched Derek Brunson in 41 seconds. So you look at Derek Brunson, who's on a bit of a streak here. He got starched by Robert Whittaker. Then he lost to Anderson Silva. Some people thought he won that fight. Then he beat Dan Kelly via knockout, and then he beat Lyoto Machida. Lyoto's a little long in the tooth. Dan Kelly is literally as old as my uncle, but he is a monster. Last time they fought was in 2012, right? And he got starched. God, I'm assuming Jacare, the Father Time hasn't caught up with him. I still think he has another title run in him. I think he needs to win this one and fight Weidman and then get a title shot. So I'd love to see Jacare versus Weidman, but the only way he does that is to win over Dick Brunson. I know Dick Brunson's a bit on a streak and he's hot right now. I just think Jacare's... his striking's getting better. He has power in his hands. I think he can land a takedown on Derek Brunson. I think he can wear him out over time. I'm never impressed with Derek Brunson's striking as much as he lunges in and sprints forward. I think that's a problem when you fight a guy like Jacare, one of the greats to ever do it. He's an absolute monster. I will say Jacare, 4th round submission. I think it goes to the 4th round. There's a bunch of good fights. There's a bunch of potential fight of the nights on the card. The other one that sticks out would be Dennis Bermudez versus Fili. Good fight. I think they have Fili as the favorite here, I would assume. But if you remember, Dennis Bermudez was on a 7-fight win streak. I don't think Fili possesses the power to knock a guy like Bermudez out, which whenever he faces a real power puncher, he can get in a little bit of trouble. But I think Fili doesn't possess that. So I think Bermudez wins by decision.
Cool.
Another fight that I love on the card would be the FS1 prelim, which is our boy who we haven't seen forever fight, Koch versus Green. That's a fun fight. Eric Koch versus Bobby Green. I will take Koch in that fight.
Fair enough.
Via TKO second round. Boom. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get to it. Without further ado, I present to you a little convo with the baddest female fighter on the planet, Cyborg, and her manager / man, Ray. It's a fun one. Enjoy. We ready? Yep. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have the best female fighter on the planet. Cyborg is joining us, and as always, her partner in crime, Ray. Me and Ray, we get into it, man. Hey. When I mean we get into it, meaning you just drop insane knowledge about women's fighting and contract negotiation, and I love having you guys here, man. You're one of my favorites. Both of you guys.
Thanks. It was great being on the show last time.
I was so proud of you guys, man, because I know you are fighting kind of a two-headed monster. Because when you guys enter the octagon, what it took
when she enters.
Yeah, well, it's a team effort, but for sure. Yeah. But by the time the whole team gets to the octagon, you guys have gone through some shit to get there. Meaning, it's always kind of this whole ordeal with you guys. It was the contract, and then we didn't, there was the whole thing with Durandamy and Holly, and then the division, and we didn't know if you're going to have an opponent. And then finally the Holly fight comes to fruition. And it's the end of the year, and then that card starts to kind of hits the injury bug. And it's just, I just feel like it's never easy for you.
It's uma novela. But I think it motivated Cyber Nation to watch everything, and it just motivated me to keep going,
Yeah, and I think the main message, and I said this on Rogan, on this show, I said the winner of Holly and Cyborg is the best female fighter of all time. But hands down, the best female fighter of all time. And that fight, even if you're a Holly fan, which I am, I love Holly. I think she's a great person, a great fighter. Even if you're a Holly fan, it's hard to give her one round. I had it scored, and this is dead honest, I said this before you guys came in, I had it scored 4-1. And I didn't find it that competitive of a fight.
I had Holly winning round 2.
Yeah,
that's the round that I had Holly winning. But I felt like it was that's one of the problems with MMA scoring, right? Because you can barely win 2 rounds by using a jab and hugging against the fence.
Yeah,
and then in a 3-round fight, Chris would have actually lost that fight on the scorecards of the judges because you can barely win a round, and then if in a round 3 it's not a 10-8 round,
yeah, you're in trouble.
You're in trouble. So I think it just kind of exemplifies really the need to make sure that you have qualified judges that really understand the unified scoring, and just really hold those judges accountable.
Agree. Cyborg, did you, going into that fight, did it go how you pictured it?
I really respect Holly too. I know Holly, and then I was training really hard for this fight. I train always hard, but she's the first southpaw, in my career. And then I really stress about, and I know she's 17 times world champion boxing. And I knew it was going to be tough. I know she's having a lot of good footwork. And then we trained like 6 months for this fight almost. Because after Tony Evergan fight, I went to Thailand. And we started training every day, just techniques, but we train every day. And then bring in one friend, one athlete from South Africa, Domaj, and he's having more than 100 fights, Muay Thai fights, southpaw.
This kid, real quick, let me give you. I know he's watching because he's a fan. This kid is a monster.
Yeah,
100 Muay Thai fights. Get on YouTube, type in Don Madge. He's South Africa's lightweight world champion right now in MMA. He's a brown belt in jiu-jitsu.
Wow,
this guy
in
is
young.
This guy's a beast.
So you guys brought him in to mimic Holly.
Yeah, and he's helped me, and then of course I trained Jace Perillo, Bryce, and Kraus, and we help train too, but he's the partner train every day, everything for me. Jiu-jitsu, he's brown belt, jiu-jitsu, he's good at wrestling, and he did all train together. and we getting prepared, because one thing I was really take care of this, I don't want to be frustrated, because Holly run a lot.
Yes.
And then I was want to touch her, and then sometimes I'm going to touch her, and it getting me frustrated. And you're gonna be like Vanderlei style.
Yeah.
And then because I was Jason Perillo telling me, Chris, no Vanderlei style, no Vanderlei style.
No Vanderlei
and
style.
then, it's amazing. You have to have a little bit, but, and they always say that. And then I was having to be police me for me cannot do the wrong thing, the run, and and sometimes in the training happens, and then we don't. Like I cannot touch Don, and then I want to take off his head off, and then sometimes you have guard and no cover face and no cover head, and I was working this for this is not happen in the fight, and I feel great the fight. I think I touch a lot of times in Holly. And I can see her face, she's felt the punch.
Yes.
And you see her eyes. But she's moved because of experience. She have experience from the boxing.
Good footwork,
when somebody touch her, she don't need to go and change the punches. She move and come back when she's wet again. And then I saw this to have a lot of experience and to have 17 boxing fight. And I'm really happy, I think she
17-time world champion.
17th world champion.
Yeah.
And then she challenged myself a lot. I learned a lot about this camp. And then she make better athlete fight her. I improve my game. I'm getting better. I'm really happy with the result.
Yeah, I think the scary thing, if you're another female fighter, especially in the 145-pound division, or maybe you're Amanda Nunes in the 135-pound division one fight Cyborg, is when you watch a Cyborg fight, you're thinking, all right, maybe if Holly can just get by the first or second round and let Cyborg go crazy, then Holly can kind of go to work in the third, fourth, and fifth, and maybe Cyborg will get tired. When you watch it, you're composed, you light her up, but you're not getting tired. Like the third, fourth, and fifth, I thought, oh, well, here we go. Like what, you know what I'm saying? Like if there was going to be a knock that people were hoping for, or your naysayers going to be like, well, she's going to get fatigued. You can't fight like that. But you were composed, and I'm sure it has a lot to do with Jason Perillo and just your experience and everything all together. But that was my biggest takeaway on it. Oh, man, now what are they going to do? Because she didn't get tired. You stayed composed. You didn't headhunt. You outstruck this 17-time world champion. So it's a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing because obviously you're the best female fighter on the planet now in history. The curse is it's going to be tough to get people to convince people to fight you. Because we haven't seen any holes in your game. It's a scary fight. You're the Mike Tyson of the UFC right now, where you're not getting a lot of people saying they want to fight you.
You say that, but there's a lot of people saying they want to fight Chris.
They say it.
Yeah.
They might say, there's a lot of people that would try to play the Donald Cerrone cowboy game where I'll fight Chris, and then we're like, okay, here's the contract. Then it's like, wait, what's taking so long?
But I think there's a lot of fighters that have that struggle, and that's what the promoter's job is to find opponents, develop opponents, create opponents. I mean, Mike Tyson, he had a hard time getting people to fight him. You see a girl like Clarissa Shields right now in boxing. She's fighting at 168 pounds. She had 5 fights this year.
And she said, man, I'm not going to lose weight. I said, for what? She looked at me like, I'm not going to lose weight.
She's hilarious.
And then, man, I one time I'm going to bring her to the show. She's funny.
She seems like a good,
And then she said, why I'm going to lose weight? I'm in 3 times world medal. I'm going to still eating,
She's so good.
Yes.
She's so good. But for you guys, and I'm sure you're getting this everywhere, it's like, all right, what next? Because, like I said, I'm proud of you guys because you had this vision. You went through the trial tribulations, getting the contract with UFC and Dana White, and you've had your history with him. Now you're the champion. You're the 105-pound world champion. It was kind of your belt always, but there was kind of that hiccup with Durandamy and Holly when that fight didn't happen. So we're kind of like, all right, well, when's it Cyborg's belt? Just give her the goddamn belt. So now finally you're the champion, and you look at the division, it's like, all right, now what? Now what do we do? Because you're the king of the division, but you're the king of a division where they're not putting time or investment into it, which is out of your control, which isn't on you guys. No. We obviously, I'm in this business, so I hear the Amanda Nunes fight. When I hear that, my initial reaction was, and I DM'd this to you guys on Twitter. My initial reaction was, "Ooh, that's a fun fight. That'd be a really fun fight." Amanda Nunes is a name, and I thought, God, not a great fight for Amanda Nunes. And I thought, she's not even a natural 145er. But then, are there no 45ers out there? Is she just going to keep taking super fights? Like, how can you create a career off just these girls kind of jumping up to 45?
I mean, and you know what? It's really interesting, too, because at some point, you do have to kind of draw that line, you know? And I realize people want to see Cris in competitive fights. I get that. But, you know, she had 2 fights at 140, and people would kind of saying, hey, why is she fighting Leslie Smith? Who's this Lena Landsberg girl? And really, Lena Landsberg, her last fight before Cris at 140 was at 145 pounds. Mm-hmm. So, okay, maybe girls don't want to fight Cris at 145, but there's an opportunity for girls to fight each other at 145 pounds to build the division.
Yeah.
You know?
You have to, though. And just like, you know, you have the women's division now, they just launched, 125? So you have 115, 125, then 135. They're building that.
I mean, you got girls like Jessica I mean, bless her. She got her win this last weekend in St. Louis, but she was almost 6 straight losses in the UFC. I mean, you got a girl like, you know, Caitlin or Kieran, the Hawaiian girl. She's a tough girl. She's an entertaining girl, but she lost like 5 in a row. Mm-hmm. Those girls are not going to make the same money as a Cris Cyborg. They're just not. And there's nobody in that division right now that's already established. I mean, you've got a developing Mackenzie Dern or a girl like that might be able to have some real star power. But 145 can be profitable, too. I mean, there's no reason why you can't see those girls on a Contender Fight Night series.
No, there's no reason.
And then say maybe they want to fight straight, the first fight with me. Of course, they're going to send the contra, let's fight Cyber. No, but if they start doing fights 145, and the girls will start to fight each other, and you beat the other girl, and then you're going to be ready for fight for the belt. Yeah. How's they going to say, no, I don't want to fight? Yeah. No, they don't want to just make one fight, and then they lose, and maybe lose or not, and they get out. They want to have the opportunity to keep fighting, you know, and they have to have like, you fight one fight, and then the 3 fights, and you're ready to fight for the belt. It's like this, but then they want this opportunity, not just fight me, you know, it's supposed to fight each other there at 145, and then when you be ready for fight for the belt, you're going to be ready for fight for the belt.
I feel like for you guys, if it's not one thing, it's another, you know, because you are in this kind of blazing this new path, the 145-pound division, and before that it was a contract. And with your guys' experience going through the contract, you guys are pleased?
Yeah, I think, you know, one of the really...
Last time you were on the show, that was kind of the big...
Yeah.
And I say, thank you, you know, I'm in UFC now because I have in our relationship is no straight with Dana White, it's with Hunter. And then my manager talked to the Hunter. I think he's really responsible to be the UFC because we start to work very well, and then he's really listen what I would like to do. And the one thing I was talking about him, I would like to invest in my division 145. You know, it's my history. I don't have the opportunity to fight for the belt 145 because I was cutting so much weight. I was not ready. I was sick. I was gonna go to fight 145 for getting the belt, and then gonna wait. You know, then wait a long time for make 145. But when I be the 45, I was not fight for the belt first time, and this is already then take out for my history. Fight for first time for belt 145 in the UFC. And then I was the first girl fight in the history of MMA fight Gina Carano about belt 145. Yeah. And after then take out this, I want to invest in my division, you know, because I don't want to finish my career and then my legacy nobody gonna delete. Yeah. Then take out my division and then they're gonna say anything about what I did for the sport. The same thing, the 2 fights I did 140 catch weights. You don't see anywhere this, you know, then delete. But man, I remember what I have to do for make this. But I did this for show my job, and I know they're going to open my division after that because I'm not going to continue doing this all the time. And this is making me really frustrated, you know. But I'm going to continue fight, make the weight 145, and try make the division. I want to invest in division. I have 3 fights left in my contract. I would like to make these 3 fights in 2018. And then I show to UFC like then they make the line, then draw the line. If they don't want to continue, I will stay there and fight girls 145 there. They have to make my division. I don't want to be people say, Cris just beat the girls 135. If I'm the champion 145, I have to fight girls 145. I can still doing super fights, but I have to beat the girls 145. Now if they continue don't sign girls. And every week, Bellator signing on girl 145, Bellator doing my division. Yeah. And I'm going to be by myself in UFC 145 and then draw the line. Then draw the line where I'm going to be. I don't want to be the girl beat just 135 or 125. I want to be the girl beat the girls in my division and make super fights. And because this mean you have a belt.
Yeah.
Why I have a belt if I don't fight the girls that's supposed to be 145? And this is the one thing, but I'm going to continue fight. I'm going to continue tell them, you know, and then about this, I think I have to be the responsible, not just fight about me, just think about the money and think about the belt. No, I want to make the division. I want to see the girls fight my division 145. And I want to, when I retire, I can see I did something for the sport.
Yeah, it's more about the legacy.
Yes, and it's my history, you know. And
so to be clear, so you signed a 4-fight deal. Holly would be one of the 4. So you have 3 left, and you'd like to fight all 3 in 2018.
Yes.
Get money.
You know, after
Get money.
after fight the Holly Holm fight, I was feel great. You know, I have a nice cut weight. You know, I'm the easiest cut weight ever this fight. And then I feel great. You said me I can do 10 rounds. You
could have won about 12 rounds on that.
I was like, man, I can do boxing 12 rounds. And then, you know, I was really feel great. And then after the fight, I said, man, I want to fight 6 weeks in Australia. You know, I don't have any injury, and that was good. And I can continue the camp just, you know, 5 weeks more, and then fight, and then rest. But I don't have the opportunity again, so there's no way for the fight. But because I was really feel great, you know, and then I feel no injury. I feel the weight I cut very well, very good, and not have any damage, and yeah.
So let's say you guys have control of everything. You're fighting 3 times 2018. Give me those 3 fights in a perfect world.
I mean, I think everybody wants to see Amanda Nunes. You know, I know that there's been some talk about bringing Kat Zingano up to featherweight. I think that's a great fight. Man, it'd be nice to see Jermaine Durand decide to come back to 145 and fight Cris. I think those are probably the 3 biggest fights.
Agree.
Yeah.
But if you can't make those 3 fights, man, she still needs to fight 3 times. And you really do need to start building that division. And if you're not going to build the division with Cris fighting a true 145-pounder, then you need to start having girls compete at the weight of 145 so you can develop a contender. I mean, if you think that, you know, a Cindy Dandois or Pam Sorensen or an Indian Gomez or the girl of the black belt that just went on Invicta this last weekend, or even Valentina's sister, she just got to win at 145 in Dubai. If you don't think those girls are ready for Cris yet, man, how many people wouldn't want to see Valentina's big sister?
Yeah. How
many people wouldn't want to see Valentina's sister fight Cindy Dandois, the girl that beat Jarena Bars? That's the girl that beat Cris. Mm-hmm. You know, like there's compelling fights that can happen on a contender series, on a Fight Pass event, even on an FS1 undercard. I mean, listen, I watched some of those fights this weekend from St. Louis, and some of those fights were smoking awesome. Some of those fights, man, there's still development.
Yeah,
there's still development fighters
for sure. And when you guys bring up these concerns with UFC, we say, man, let's build the 145-pound division. What do they say?
You know, I think the UFC is in the money business, right? And they want to make the fights that are going to make the most money at the time that they put them on. And that's the business that fight promoters are in. But on the flip side of that, you know, it's like that's worked, but that doesn't mean that there isn't things that couldn't have worked better.
Yeah, it's short-sighted.
You know, I mean, look, Cris fought 2 times at 140 pounds. But really, what were those fights? And the 3 fights that she fought in Invicta, I mean, they were at 145 pounds. Let's say that 7 fights ago, Cris had already started fighting at 145 pounds. We've probably already seen Cris versus Amanda Nunes by now. Mm-hmm. We've probably already seen Cris versus Holly Holm by now. I mean, a lot of these fights, the Kat Zingano, she's struggling at 135, I think, largely because of the weight cut.
Correct.
When you look at girls like Miocic Tate, did you see that that photo that went viral of Miocic Tate where she was on the ground and Brian Caraway's standing over her? I mean, that was before she fought Amanda Nunes.
Rough.
I get those girls don't want to fight Cyborg at 145. I get that. But how come a Kat Zingano doesn't want to fight a Miocic Tate at 145, right? Or what would have happened if Holly Holm fights Amanda Nunes at 145 instead of 135? Mm-hmm. Does that change the dynamics of that outcome? Mm-hmm. Who knows?
Yeah.
But I know that at 145, if you judge Amanda for what she did, she wasn't a champion in Strikeforce. She wasn't a champion in Invicta. Man, Cindy Dandois, a lot of people like to talk about how terrible her one fight was in the UFC because she fought herself all over the place.
Yeah, she's a hot mess.
But she lost by a decision. And the girl that she lost to a decision, Alexis Davis, that's a girl that actually finished Amanda Nunes on the ground by TKO at 145.
I can't understand why Amanda Nunes is up for this fight. I look at it stylistically, and it's a bad matchup for her. So she wants to fight basically a bigger, faster, more technical version of herself in a Cris Cyborg.
When did you first see Amanda Nunes? I mean,
I met Amanda in Brazil. When I met Amanda in Brazil, I was already champion 145 in Strikeforce. And if you don't have any opportunity to fight in Strikeforce because she's lost for Alex Davis, and then she not getting close to the belt, for fight for the belt. And I don't think this fight ahead because she don't getting close. It's supposed to be gonna happen because Scott Coker really look for girls in the fight.
Yeah.
And for me, I was not to like fight somebody Brazilian, and then I was
get out of here. You cannot be a pussy now.
No.
You don't want to fight somebody from here. That's like me saying I don't want to fight Robbie Lawler because he's American.
No, because
you don't want to fight another Brazilian.
I know. I think like this. Not gonna change anything in my career. Like this. Not gonna help my division. And then one thing, I think I want to fight Amanda if people want to watch Amanda, but it's not one thing I would like to do because she's Brazilian. I don't want to fight Brazilian. And she's the champion, and the Bob's the champion. And they wanna put the two birds and they kill one bird away from rock.
They're trying to kill at least one Brazilian.
Let's keep it real though. There was a time this year where Amanda Nunes was the only Brazilian UFC champ.
Yes,
it was the first time in a long time that Brazil did not have a single UFC champion.
And then why are you gonna kill the two champions and the two fight each other? I don't have any problem.
But Amanda wants it.
I know.
Right? That's where it comes from.
She's keep text done, keep call done. Like that.
Why do you think she wants to fight?
And then I want to say because she don't make money. If you see her career, she fight Ronda Rousey. She getting pay-per-view, good explosion this fight, and then she fight Miocic Tate in the Brock Lesnar card, and then she's fight by herself with Valentina, and then she can barely have to make 100,000 pay-per-view. She cannot make any money in pay-per-view. She's thinking about the money.
Which UFC was that?
The last one, I think. No.
Which one was that? Which pay-per-view was?
Amanda Nunes and Shevchenko. That was...
it was the second time they fought, right?
Yes.
Yeah, because the first time don't happen.
Just type in Amanda Nunes. It's not going to be...
how about did it do?
215?
Yeah.
215. Did 100,000.
And who was the co-main
Click
event
on that
on that?
UFC 215 right there.
Who was the co-main event on that?
So you had Mighty Mouse and Borg, which is notoriously known for not being...
RDA. You had RDA, right? That's another Brazilian up-and-comer.
You had Stevens, Melendez, you had Latifi, Pedro, Cejudo, Reyes. Yeah, that's not a big...
But 100,000, that's got to be one of the worst pay-per-views
And then I think...
That's awful.
in a long time.
Yeah, that's bad.
And then I think Amanda say, okay, if I fight Cyber now, I can make extra money, It's okay, cool, she look at this way, but, all the... she have girls 135 for fight. She can fight Cat Zingano. Cat Zingano beat her already.
Yeah.
She's supposed to want to fight back Cat Zingano. Let's clean up this. Or, okay, I want to fight Alex Davis. She beat me. I want to fight Alex Davis. And the other girls 125.
Yeah.
And the other 125. She want to go 145. Okay, so I can accept it. But if a super fight and the money fight, like Dana said yesterday after the fight, okay, let's do one super card. I can fight Amanda next fight in super card. Let's talk super fight, super money. Then let's see that. But Amanda cannot buy sale pay-per-view. Have to be big card for you can do something.
So you're down for the Amanda Nunes fight, but you want it on the right card, maybe with some other headliners.
I mean, I think that if it's a super fight, right, then it has to go on a really good card.
Agreed.
I mean, especially when
you don't want to be on a fight night in Brazil.
Well, you got to see that's not even an option really. Like the way those championship contracts are, it's like she kind of has to be on pay-per-view because it's heavily incentive based like that.
Gotcha.
And you see like when Miocic Tate, she fights on a card with like Brock Lesnar. man, that's 1 million pay-per-view buys.
Yeah, you're going Sizzler.
And so you start getting into incentive money, which is sometimes even more than what your base was.
Okay, well, here's the question for you then. There's no Brock Lesnar, there's no Ronda Rousey, there's no Conor McGregor. What other headliner would you want on the card, though, that would draw some sort of pay-per-view number?
I mean, well, you got to look at what they did last year, right? And essentially there was 2 big events. I mean, you had the event with John Jones in DC, and then you had the event with GSP. And I mean, you see Conor McGregor is talking about maybe coming back in September. You see Nate Diaz taking pictures at the UFC Performance Institute. I mean, these are all other things that really have to start factoring in. You got 3 fights in 1 year. So
if you wait, I'm telling you now, if you wait for Nate Diaz and Conor McGregor to come back to headline, you're going to get 1 fight this year.
And you don't need to necessarily put it on the blockbuster of the year, but you want to put it in a market that traditionally performs strong. When you look at what Chris's last pay-per-view did, it did well, but she was the only title fight on the card. So when you put it on a card, you're like,
the
okay.
New Year's card, too, which is predominantly supposed to be one of the biggest cards of the year. But again, that injury bug.
I mean, John Jones' card had 3 title fights. You know what I mean? And even the GSP card, that was a solid card as well.
Huge card.
And to be fair, 219, I think, would have done a lot better if Dominique Cruz would have been replaced with a good name when he fell off. Yep. What was the real athletic kid from Cameroon that just fought? Umasari.
Oh, Usman.
Yeah. He was supposed to be on the card. I mean, Gokhan Saki's a monster and has a huge following.
Huge name,
so I think it's just one of those things you just need to negotiate it, right? I mean, traditionally, that's kind of what you do. If it's 3 fights in a year, you decide where they take place. You map it out over the year. You decide who they're going to be, how you're going to build it, what type of marketing goes into it, you know?
Yeah, it's tough with the lay of the land right now because the UFC numbers, that this article that just came out, and seeing how the numbers are down, and then you look at the pay-per-view draws. You know, obviously Cyborg's one of the biggest stars in the UFC, but if you're going to partner her with someone else to try and, you know, I don't know who would break 1 million pay-per-views this day and age.
Well, who people said Holly Holm was a draw. And what was Holly Holm's UFC 208 pay-per-views? I mean, since we've got the pay-per-views up, what was her fight? That was for the first ever featherweight belt. It had Anderson Silva on the card. It was in Brooklyn.
200,000.
200,000.
So they were at 200,000. I mean, Chris, I don't think they've actually come out with the official figures for 219, but I'm seeing a lot of people speculate that it's at 350,000. So that means she added 150,000 buys on Holly Holm. Championship fight. Mm-hmm. I mean, how many is she going to add on an Amanda Nunes who just did 100,000?
Yeah.
How many is Amanda Nunes going to add on a Cris Cyborg? Because every opponent that Cris Cyborg has fought has been a lesser name, and she's overperformed on the ratings. Mm-hmm. FS1, she fought Lena Landsberg, first time ever fighting in the UFC. 1.3 million, most viewed fight ever on Fox Sports 1 by a female fighter. Okay.
Good.
Gina Carano, most viewed female fight? No. Most viewed MMA fight on network television at the time of that fight. Some of her Fight Pass performances when she was in Invicta. Her last fight in Invicta had more live viewers on Fight Pass than Holly Holm's fight against Betch Kohea at 7 a.m. on a Sunday from Singapore had.
That's a tough sell, yeah.
So the fact that Cyborg, people are saying Cyborg's not a draw because of the matchup or this or that. Man, Amanda Nunes did 100,000. I could take Chris to Burger King right now at noon.
We do a video of us eating a Whopper and get 100,000.
I could put up a tweet right there, and 100%. We're going to have 100,000 people watching her eat a Whopper 100%. At Burger King. Right.
Easily. Probably charge them for it.
So Amanda Nunes, okay, if it's a super fight, how many pay-per-views is it going to do? Is it going to do more than Holly Holm did?
I don't think so.
I mean, is it going to do more than Holly Holm? And part of the reason why Amanda Nunes is having such a hard time selling pay-per-views now, when you watch the lead-up for for Amanda versus Ronda, what was the lead-up like?
Well, they didn't do one.
Well, if she beats Ronda, everyone's going to know who she is, right? Because everything was leading up. You got Ronda's house in the intro.
They put all the eggs in the Ronda basket.
And
yes.
if Amanda beats Ronda, everyone's going to know who she is.
Doesn't work like that.
So then they do the Miocic Tate fight. Miocic Tate, man, let's put Brock Lesnar on that card. Let's make that 1 million pay-per-views guaranteed because we know Brock Lesnar is going to sell. And promotion again. How did that promotion go? It was heavily dumped into which fighter? Misha.
Yeah.
And after the fight, Amanda's brand hasn't grown.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, pull up Amanda's Instagram, pull up her Twitter, pull up her Facebook, see what the numbers are.
Yeah, and I think they're dropping the ball a little bit on that one because, you know, you have a champion who is also gay, you know, so they can market that. She has an amazing story. She's Brazilian. She has a lot going for her.
I mean,
she's a knockout artist. She's beat some damn good girls at 135.
When you watch the promo for 219, right? Everything in the lead up was basically when Holly Holm beats Cris Cyborg, she's going to be the best female fighter ever. That was the whole story of the sell of the fight.
I didn't watch.
You didn't see it?
Nothing.
Well, but to be fair, Dana did, when he was like on whatever show he goes on, did say the winner of this fight is the best female fighter of all time.
Pull that clip up for me.
Can you find it, Chin? I'm pretty sure he said it. Maybe it was
Pull
on
that
ESPN.
clip up
Did
for
he
me.
say just Holly?
Pull that clip
Did
up
he?
for me. I'd love to see that clip.
I mean,
I'd love to see the clip.
Really?
I don't know. I want to see the
I don't
clip.
know. It's hilarious.
I want to pull up the. I want to see the
everything.
clip now. Now I'm interested.
I'm
in seeing
interested
the clip.
too. Dana White says, yeah.
I'm interested. I'm interested. In
Spelled
seeing the
female
clip.
wrong, but whatever.
Dana White says we'll never see women in
no,
MMA.
no.
Dana White speaks on UFC fighters.
They put Dana White put Dana White comments on Holly Cyborg.
Now I'm interested to hear it.
Me too.
Did he say
I
the winner?
thought he did.
What was it on? It was on ESPN.
See, I feel like you'd be up top there, Chin, where it says Dana White talks Holly Holm, because on the herd, I feel like you did it. It should be on the herd
like
there.
that. It was
This
something
guy
like-
right?
Top one.
Top one. 7 minutes long.
We'll let
He
him-
might sell it right here, though.
when she matches up with Holly Holm? What's going to be different?
I think what's different is this is the biggest fight of her career. You know, this is the true test for Cris Cyborg. If you look at Holly Holm, 13-time world boxing champion,
17 times, no?
kickboxing
17,
champion,
yeah.
beat Ronda Rousey and won the UFC title. Now Holm is moving up to 145 pounds, and she's actually a real 145-pounder. She's tall, she's big, she's thick.
Ended Ronda Rousey. Let's just be honest. They didn't beat her.
I don't think this is going to be
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
No, now he's going to be
She,
homie.
if Holly Holm wins this weekend, how can you argue that she's not the greatest fighter of all time, female fighter ever? Yeah.
Ooh, that was Ethan.
Obviously, to win this fight, it's a big fight for her. Holly Holm.
Wow.
So all I'm going to
You're
say
right.
is, listen, if Holly Holm,
What?
listen, if Holly Holm won the
Why did he
fight,
do
listen,
that?
if Holly Holm won the fight, she was the best fighter ever.
But then he goes, and it's big for Cyborg, too.
Listen, we won all 5 rounds.
Yes.
So if you want to say that she's not the best fighter ever because she hasn't fought the best people, I'm going to say, man, her last 7 fights, you guys gave her the opponents.
Yeah.
So if 7 fights ago she could have fought Holly Holm, if 7 fights ago she could have fought Kat Zingano, if 7 fights ago she could have fought Amanda Nunes, and if people only want to see tough fights, they only want to see competitive fights, why was she fighting Lena Landsberg at 140? Why was she fighting Leslie Smith at 140? Why was she fighting Tanya Evinger at 145? And how is a fight against a bantamweight champion who beat 2 girls that are now retired, off, gone, and a girl that dropped down to 125 by a razor-thin decision, who only sells 100,000 pay-per-views, how is that a super fight?
I guess just
Sell it to me. Sell it back to me.
It's the numbers I can't. The numbers, you're right. The only way I can sell that is this day and age of the UFC, and there's not huge. There's no Brock Lesnar's anymore, so you can say, well, Amanda Nunes is a champ. So
Sure, but if Amanda Nunes sells 280,000 pay-per-views, do you think Cris versus Pam Sorensen sells 250?
Of course, yes.
Do you think
Cyborg's the draw? Then?
So if Cyborg is fighting Pam Sorensen and she does 250, and you have Holly Holm fighting Jermaine Demandamy doing 200,000, and you have Amanda Nunes fighting the number one contender doing 100,000, are we in the business of money? Because we're making money.
Everyone's in the business of money, yeah.
And so we could put Amanda Nunes on one of those 3 big cards.
Yep.
Because we know there's going to have to be a blockbuster card. The company didn't do 1 million buys last year in one event. Okay, the GSP did global, worldwide, got to 1 million. But they're going to have to stack a card this year.
Yep.
Man, we got to. There's no going to be a Conor McGregor Mayweather card this year.
You can do champ versus champ. You could sell that. I cannot for the life of me.
That's what we were trying to sell Ronda Rousey for years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We were trying to sell that for years, and I get that Ronda was the key for making that fight happen. But when Misha became champ, man, Misha versus Holly Holm, or Misha versus Cris Cyborg, or Misha versus Amanda Nunes.
There's a reason you guys didn't get those fights. They can't have you beating up these girls.
So now why do they want to take out the champ from Amanda Nunes?
Because she's
selling 100,000 pay-per-views.
Hey, because she's Brazilian.
Correct.
They want Brazilian against Brazilian.
Correct.
They want to kill one bird.
The conspiracist. she's convinced the UFC has like an anti-Brazilian department. Yeah. They got their anti-Brazil department.
Let me ask you guys this: Are you enjoying it a little bit though? I know the matchups and the contract and all that, but I see on Instagram you guys seem like you're having fun.
About what? About
Just in life,
Why you gotta be
outside
so
fighting.
serious?
Yeah, so serious.
I'm happy with the results of the Holly fights, and I Samuel Donna say if she beat me, she's gonna be the best. Or if I beat her, it's my obligation.
Yeah, that bums me out.
And,
I thought he said both of you. That bums me out.
For me, and then one feeling I have when I walk in to fight to Holly, everybody boo me, everybody against me, and that day I remember about me, Gina Carano. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
Same thing. When I fight Gina Carano, everybody against me, and I feel great. I'm home,
Yeah, here we go.
Let it go. I always like to be like this. And then, I feel good. I feel happy. And then, about everything, people going to see me, Amanda, okay, let's go. I'm down for do this, but let's talk to my manager, do the best card in the year in 2018. It's super fight, super money. Let's do that. No problem. And let's invest my division too. I'm here for do that too. And yeah, but I feel great. I feel happy for everything.
Did you guys go on vacation or anything, or just full-time training nonstop?
You know what? She took a little bit of time
how
off.
do you take a break? You fight and then it's already close fight for you.
You fought already. They gave you a man.
I know. Other day I want to go run and train. I cannot have fun. I'm back to training. It's my job, but no vacation, nothing. But I went to Big Bear and we rest a little bit. And then February I go to Europe. I'm gonna do seminars there. Oh, nice. And I want to really know about when you're gonna be my next fight, because if not, I'm gonna keep going to seminars and go Europe everywhere there. But I'm looking forward to do that.
If it's up to you guys, when would you fight?
Cris has, I don't know if I should put it on the air, but Cris is actually going to be bringing her niece from Brazil to stay with us. We're going to be starting.
Yeah, I'm going to adopt my niece.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
We're going to be starting the process of adoption, helping her get into America, become a citizen, start school. She's at that age where she really needs positive influences.
Need to start training. I need one partner training 6 a.m., 5 a.m., and then she's going to be the partner.
Yeah. Does she have the skills like you do?
She has the attitude. She has the attitude.
Yeah. We'll start with that.
Yeah.
How old is she?
Now she's 13.
That'd be cool, man.
No, she's 12.
She's going to be 13.
Yes.
Yeah. Girls.
Yeah.
12 and a half.
Yeah,
but she's going to be a teenager. We're going to be we're going to be enrolling her into the last part of the school year. So we've got a lot of things coming up. We really are in a situation where we try to communicate. Look, dude, we want to fight 3 times this year. You tell us the dates. We'll work with you on the opponents. We'll work with us on the career.
Yeah.
She wants to fight 3 times. Obviously, we've got the tour coming up in Europe. If you guys are wanting to get a hold of that, you can always hit up her Facebook or email Cris Cyborg, MMA at Gmail. And then she's got the adoption of her niece. So ideally, we'd like to get a fight in before her niece comes. That card in Brazil works really well. Cris is already kind of...
When is that?
I think it's going to be May.
Yeah, May.
I think they're looking at May. That would be a really good card for her to be on. I don't think it's been announced or anything like that, but then she'd like to try to fight again, come back, fight in that Vegas card in July.
That's the big one.
And then that would be the perfect one for Amanda Nunes.
Boom, yeah.
And then she could come back and she could fight Kat Zingano at the end of the event. And then hopefully they've already done some other fights at 145
Build the
underneath
division,
that.
yeah.
Started building division. I mean, when you look at those top 20 rankings of the girls at World Flyweight right now, 4 of them are signed to the UFC. 7 of them are Invicta. 7 of them are in Bellator. So you've already got enough girls to start a division without counting the girls who are struggling right now at 135 that don't want to go to 145 to fight Cris Cyborg, but would go to 145 to compete against each
Other
other.
matchups, yeah.
I'm telling you now, it's not going to be long till you start having women come forward. They're going to start talking about how they were making 135 and it ended up ruining their body.
Agree 100%.
Their thyroids are messed up.
Yep.
These girls are putting on weight after each weight cut. Okay, they were 127 when they started camp last time. Now they've done their 12 weeks and they're starting camp at 129.
Yep.
Then they come back and they're 131. And the reason why is a lot of these women have bodies that were made to be able to nurture and care for a second being.
Correct.
And they're not supposed to be depleted like that.
I think, the reason I make the weight better this last fight, I think my body started to be normal again. You know, after the cuts, 2 times 140. And then we start to work on, I do a lot of blood tests, everything. When I go to Brazil, do everything again for take care of everything. My thyroid, I have messed up thyroid. I have to take care of everything. And I take the medicine sugar I supposed to have. And then, but I think because this, I think my body getting better now because I my body normal because as I make the weight easier. Because one time, like before I make like 140, but I go 180, 177, like 175. And then this is the last time I can fight 145, and then my body is still like the least biggest is 170, but it's like 168, 165, and then getting better like this. But I think because my body getting normally again.
And I think that what Cris is doing with the 145-pound weight class, it's also helping people with weight cutting, and that's a whole nother issue. Besides developing a women's MMA league, it's also somehow finding a way to control the weight cutting. And I know a lot of people like to say, more divisions, more people are going to cut weight. And this, it's true, but you have to have options for people. And the real solution to this, I know no one wants to talk about this, is they have to institute a re-weigh-in where they're only allowed to put so much weight back on.
Which is what they're doing. California just sanctioned that. That's in full effect here.
But there's still no penalty for that, right? I mean, essentially right now, it's just a suggestion that you go up to the next weight class. And the reality is if they really start instituting fines for putting on too much weight.
I thought California passed it where if you weigh, you can only weigh, it's a certain amount of pounds over.
10%?
It's 10 or 15%. If you're over, I thought you couldn't fight.
No, I think what they're doing right now is it's a recommendation that you move up to the next weight class.
It just says recommendation.
And I mean,
who cares?
Well, Andy's doing great for the sport, man.
For sure, but there should be strict.
And
that's probably soon gonna be this.
And I think when you look at that, if you start adding that re-weigh-in and you actually start penalizing people for putting on too much weight. Guys aren't going to cut weight the day of the fight to make sure they don't get penalized. What they're going to do is they're going to compete in the weight class that they're only going to be cutting 10% of their weight.
Correct.
Yeah.
And
the example is we talk about the opponent Beaufort,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, with Uriah Hall.
Done the interview. You don't know cut weight. You don't know if you can fight this weight, you have to go up.
I mean, there's such a big difference between 185 and 205.
Oh my God!
I'm that guy. I'm fat. I'm out of shape. I'm 210 pounds. I'm going to kill myself to make 185 because I'm going to be fighting a monster at 220.
Yeah.
205. Yeah.
100%. Well, you guys are on the right path. I mean, you guys seem happier than the last time you were here. You're world champion.
Hey,
you're gonna get your 3 fights. I bet you guys get your 3 fights. I'm sure that Amanda Nunes fight will come, hopefully in how you guys want it. But I always appreciate you guys coming on, man. I know you gotta get going, but it's open door policy here. I love having you, and man, I just wish you guys the best. Proud of you.
Thank
Proud of
you,
man.
thank you.
That
It's
was a
my
great
pleasure
fight.
coming here and and then I was explaining everything for all my fans because here we come and you clear everything.
Yeah.
Then I really happy people. I can explain myself in English. People don't think you don't know what Cyber say. And then I'm getting better each time. I improve my English.
Your English
And
is
then-
way better even now than last time you were here.
Yeah,
She's been yelling at me now. The neighbors are like, Jesus.
It's like, man, she's getting good.
Did you walk the dog? I'm like, yeah, dear.
And then I'm getting better, and I think it's bad. This is really important for my fans understand me and know what I'm saying, what I'm thinking, and then I come here and they clear everything. It's really nice. I thank for the opportunity.
Always, man. Always. Appreciate you guys. Till next time.
Yes.
Whenever you're ready.
Snacking on a mint, fellas. Ladies, snacking on a mint. Snacking on a mint. Let's do some fan questions. Hope you guys enjoyed that Cyborg interview. She's a fun one, man. Like I said, though, the whole victim thing and the I just wish they wouldn't do that. But what can you do? All right, let's jump to some fan questions. We're going to do it like we always do. I'm just going to rattle through them. Chin, you start at the top. I'll start at the bottom. Let me start this one with my boy, Mike Safai. What's up, Mike? Miss you, brother. We got to train together. So Mike puts, what's up, brother? Stipe Miocic is now considered the greatest heavyweight because he's the first to defend the title 3 times. Do you agree? If so, why? If not, which heavyweight do you consider to be the greatest, and why, in your opinion? The greatest, and why, in your opinion? What are the prerequisites to be the title the greatest? Yeah. So I think the argument for Stipe is the current lay of the land with the strict drug testing, the kind of the lineup that he's gone through between Overeem, Verdum, Mark Hunt, the list, JDS fights. You look at his whole body of work, and you look at the way he's taken out these guys. And then with Francis Ngannou, now we can look back and go, oh, that was kind of an easy match for Stipe. But you got to remember, leading up to that fight, everyone thought he was the next coming of Mike Tyson for the UFC, and he's painted as this complete tear. And then Stipe goes in there, has the championship mindset, and absolutely destroys him. So I look at what he's done, the way he's performed, compared. I think the other arguments for greatest UFC heavyweight of all time would be, it's a list of 3 contenders for greatest of all time. You got Stipe, number 1. You got Kane and Verdum. I've always made arguments for Verdum. He's the first to beat Fedor when, Fedor was Fedor. He was the first to submit Kane when Kane was Kane. He knocked out Mark Hunt. The only issue there is it's hard to argue Verdum and Stipe because that Verdum's over Stipe because they have fought head to head, and Stipe beat him. So that's why I give the slight edge to Stipe. I would like to see that rematch. That's why I give Stipe the rematch. The reason I don't list Kane as number 1 is because Kane injuries wasn't active enough. When he did fight, you look at the guys that he fought, it's not as impressive as Stipe. So I just give him that. And he did have the knockout to JDS, and he did have the loss to Verdum, which Stipe did beat both of those guys and did not get knocked out by JDS. And in the one time he did lose to JDS, most people think he won that fight. So that's why Stipe is number 1. Go ahead, Jen.
All right. Johan Alexovson. Okay. What's next for Francis? A lot of people are asking the same question, so.
Yeah, good one. What's next for Francis? I would Black Beast if he gets a win. Maybe the winner of Struve or Arlovsky. Maybe Travis Brown. You need to give him a pure striker. You need to give him a pure striker. So if Struve were to beat Arlovsky, you could do Struve. You could do the winner of Derek Lewis versus Marcin Tibura. You can't give him Vulcan. You can't. Mark Hunt's not a bad fight. That'd be a fun one. Travis Brown would be a fun one. There's a bunch out for him out there, but he's gonna need some time off. But you got to give him a striker. However, you're gonna see how much they want to invest in him with the next matchup they give him, because he is ranked number 1. So if they're like, let's just give him a win, and they give him like a Travis Brown or a guy ranked below 10, you're like, all right, we see what's going on here. Because really, if you just fought for the title, you usually fight like the number 2, 3, or 4 guy. But you look at 2, 3, and 4, Fabricio would mop the fucking floor with him. And we got the first round. Kane beat the brakes off of him. We saw, the Alistair Overeem fight. Mark Hunt probably makes most sense because Mark Hunt's ranked number 5. So I'll say Derek Lewis or Mark Hunt would be next for Francis.
Cool.
At Jet Jerry 2408, if you were DC, would you fight Stipe at heavyweight? Yes, it's the only fight. At BMO Shinsky, can you give Brian credit on predicting fights? Seems like you always doubt him. I always give Brian credit.
Want one?
Sure, what do you got?
This is a fairy tale matchup. It's dmssdt.gav. Who do you got in a Darren Till versus Rory McDonald matchup?
Ooh, that's a great fight. Doesn't matter because they're never going to fight. What else you got?
That's it?
Doesn't matter.
All right, how about...
They're
well, this
never
didn't
gonna
happen
fight.
yet, but it should happen soon. So, Marshall Turner 94. What's next for the winner of Wilder versus Joshua? A rematch?
What's next for the winner of Wilder Joshua?
If they fight.
Well, it's so silly, guys, because Wilder has to fight Ortiz, Joshua has to fight Parker. And then we'll see what happens. And then you got Tyson Fury's back in the mix. It doesn't matter. They both have extremely tough fights.
All right. How about this? Stash 12-12. Who's winning the Super Bowl, Pats or Eagles?
Who's winning the Super Bowl, Pats or Eagles? Oof. God, the Eagles beat the shit out of Minnesota. I thought that was Jacksonville's game to lose. They jumped up early, and then they played it so safe. And damn well he played it safe with Tom Brady. He's going to come up with some magic shit and beat you. You got to put up points. And they decided to run the ball, play it safe. I thought it was a coaching flaw. That's why Jacksonville won. I'm not taking away anything from the Patriots, but any other team who has championship knowledge and experience probably wouldn't let that game slip away. So I think it's going to be a great game. I think it's going to be a close game. I do not think the Eagles are underdog in that game. I like the Eagles and the points. This guy, Addison Thumb. I feel like the broadcast booth for UFC is overcrowded. I miss Rogan breaking down action with the color guy next to him, setting up transition. Feels like Dom is trying way hard to impress. Why do you think the UFC is using 3 now? Big Show's with Rogan. In my mind, he's a wuff that needs to roam, not be boxing with. I'll agree a little bit with Addison here. I think I love Dom. I think he's a brilliant mind. I think it needs to be Dom and one other guy and Rogan one other guy. I think 3's too crowded. I think Dom talks too much, and you don't get the full experience of Rogan and Anik because Dom literally tells you everything he's thinking. It's usually what the guy's not doing. It's usually in a negative light, which I typically don't agree with, but Dom is one of the best and brilliant minds in the game. I just think 3's too crowded, so I agree with you.
Go
ahead.
Here's a personal question. That dude, Joe. So it might be a personal question, but what is one of your biggest regrets or biggest waste of time? Much love to the BBB crew.
Do you have any regrets?
Like, what do you consider one of your biggest regrets or wastes of time when you look back?
Zero.
No.
Who the fuck looks back? Just go forward, man. Why would you look back? Who cares?
That's a good way to think, though, yeah.
Yeah. I
got another one if you're not ready.
Go ahead.
Scarfo91. Nate Diaz was hanging with Scott Coker at Bellator. Do you think there's any chance of him ending up there in the future? Near future?
No, UFC had tied his contract up so much they'd never let that slip away.
Okay.
You're going to get that Conor Diaz 3 fight eventually, even if it's 3 years from now. At Tim_Zakarowski, what do you make of Dana getting the heavyweight belt ripped out of his hands? I think Stipe felt underpromoted. I think he felt disrespected, rightfully so. He said that leading up to it, I think, on MMA Hour. I think, it's the right thing to do. If you feel disrespected and you're the heavyweight champion, the most successful heavyweight champion of all time, you have that right to feel that way. And I think him doing that was, I think it's cool. I don't think we become world champion by just bowing down and doing everything that the boss says. At A Joanna 1. Does the Performance Center even have treadmills? Yes. James Kimball made clear. I knew that. Shout out James Kimball. At Ilker Fisher, where's the Big Brown Coffee subscription? I asked for one on my birthday and looked like an idiot when it didn't exist. Yeah, man. I can't have coffee right now, so I've put the coffee business on hold for a second until I figure out my stomach, and I've just been too busy to deal with it. Give me one more, Chin.
Well, I'm sure you're going to say this later, or you're going to talk about this later, but Eric _FV0, do you think Rockhold gets it done against Romero? Too early to say?
No, it's fine. Yeah, I do think Rockhold gets it done. I think he finishes him.
I might just chop these up so it's not dead air.
It's all good.
All good?
Yeah, all right, we'll end on this one. At Josh Van Venison. What did you think of Woodley's interview with Rogan? Any concerns with the obsession of how he's viewed by the public? Again, it's the victim thing. I love Woodley. I had coffee, lunch with him the other day. I love that dude. I think he's an amazing champion. But the same thing with Cyborg. You got to stop playing the victim thing. People can't relate to that. They say the UFC's not marketing me. The UFC doesn't know how to market African American fighters. I'm looking for this money fight. I want this money fight. You're the champion. You need to have people want to fight you and become the money fight. You do that by knocking fools out, by getting finishes. You got to realize it's not his fault. I would have fought Damian Maia the same way. I probably would have fought Wonder Boy the same way as him, and I get the game plan. I'm on board with it. And you keep your belt and you continue to be champion, get paid as champion. So I get exactly what you're doing. But you got to realize there's repercussions when you fight like that. The repercussions are you're not going to get the marketing machine behind you, the UFC, because they can't get behind a fighter that fights safe. They just can't. So you're trying to play, you're trying to have your cake and eat it too, where it doesn't really work like that. When you're aiming for these money fights and they don't happen, you're the champ. Why are you chasing people? That's for anyone who's a champ. Quit chasing. Become the money fight by beating people. But the whole victim thing's driving me nuts lately with these fighters. Driving me freaking nuts. One on that, man. Cool. All right, guys. Thank you for listening. Thank you for making this podcast what it is, as usual. Every month, getting bigger and bigger, thanks to you guys telling a friend who tells a friend who tells a sister who tells her friends who tells the babysitter who tells their kids. So that's the way this thing works. I love you guys. Next week, I will be in Denver Wednesday night at the Comedy Works downtown Denver, my hometown. There are tickets left for that show. The Thursday night show in Denver is sold out. Then Friday and Saturday, I'm in St. Louis. Get your tickets right now, tfatk.com. I am off to New York City. I will be doing work for E! Entertainment. You can catch me there on Sunday at the Grammys pre- and post shows. I'll be working for E! I will be looking like a real dime piece. I'm leaving today early because I got to get with my stylist and pick out my outfit. And he sent me some pictures, and I think you guys are going to make fun of me for it. But I do not care because I dig it. Hence, I might be wearing a turtleneck. Anyways, take care of yourselves. I'm going to go see a doctor because I don't want to die because I love my life too much. And I appreciate the cause, the concern. You guys are the best. Thank you for listening. For all tickets, again, Denver, St. Louis. Then after that, I'm in La Jolla at the end of February, and then Vancouver in March. That is almost sold out. I think we're going to add another show there in Vancouver at the Just for Laughs Comedy Tour. And then the end of March, I'm in Florida, Tampa Bay, and Palm Beach. That is March 22nd is Tampa. Then the 23rd through the 24th, I'm at Palm Beach. Get your tickets right now, tfatk.com. Thank you guys for listening. As always, bigger, browner, badder. I'm Brendan Schaub. I'm out.